Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you're listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we are going to be diving into your October horoscopes, folks. October is one of the most memorable months of the year. 3 planets go direct out of retrograde: Mercury, Pluto, and Saturn. Mars is going to go retrograde until January of 2023. And guess who's back? Guess who's back? That's right. It's eclipse season. Eclipse season is coming back with a bang. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be a pretty intense month. That's what I mean by memorable. But hey, at least it may feel like we are finally moving forward with our lives. September has been a month of reevaluation, of things slowing down, of significant delays, of tweaking, of making repairs, of making amends, of changing our minds, of looking back at the past. In October, it may feel like something is getting unblocked, or several different life sectors are getting unclogged, let's say. We also have one of the most challenging transits of the year occurring, especially at a collective level, at a mundane level, occurring in October. Saturn in Aquarius is going to square once again Uranus in Taurus from the beginning of the month until the 13th of October. This is not exact to the very minute, but it is exact by degree. So this is all going to be happening at 18 degrees of fixed signs of Aquarius and Taurus. This period is going to bring back memories of the past, specifically of 2021. Saturn square Uranus has been, or was, one of the most standout transits of 2021. This aspect was exact in 2021 in February, in June, and in December. We've got once again the new versus old, innovation versus tradition clash. We are likely to see protests. We are likely to feel pulled in 2 different directions. On the one hand, the direction of wanting to build something long-lasting and maintaining the status quo. On the other hand, it may feel like something really needs to be disrupted. Something really needs to change. It needs to be renewed. It needs to be innovated in our life. And there's that sense of feeling like these 2 different aspects of our life kind of like are in conflict or get in each other's way. I obviously jumped right in. It's a juicy month, October, but let me take a step back and share a few important things with you. First and foremost, do keep in mind that I'm a Western tropical astrologer. Therefore, all videos on my channel and all episodes on my podcast will follow Western tropical astrology. If you want to work with me, you can find me on my website. My website is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is the only place on the internet where you can purchase consultations from me. If you are a new client, you can go to my website. In the services section, you will find the 1-hour live Zoom consultation option. That is the one to go for. In this 1-hour live Zoom consultation, which by the way is also recorded if you want me to, so that you can re-listen to our session. In this 1-hour consultation, we can analyze your natal chart, or if you already have a good knowledge, a good understanding of your natal chart, we can dive into the year ahead. We can look into the year ahead. We can look at the major themes for the year ahead, what big chapter of your life you're in, how you can make the most of the energies of the year ahead. I use a combination of forecasting techniques for this, not just transits. I utilize annual profections. I utilize secondary progressions, solar arc directions, and more for this. The 1-hour consultation is also fantastic if you want to dive deeper into one or several areas of interest in your life, such as relationships or career. We can look at lifetime themes, opportunities, challenges, lessons, but also themes connected with the future. It is also a session in which we can address compatibility or astrocartography, if that's something that you're interested in. Essentially, the 1-hour live Zoom consultation is completely customizable to your needs. I am at your service and at your disposal. If you're an existing client and if you're interested in a year ahead forecast, there is a service on my website which is called Existing Clients Year Ahead Forecast. This has a preferential rate, a preferential price for existing clients. Again, it is also something that we do live via Zoom, and we will of course record it so that you can re-listen to it throughout the year. Written in the stars-astrology.com, the only place on the internet where you can purchase services from me. I'm currently taking bookings for the last week of October and the first part of November. Let's go back to October. What are some of the most significant astrological events of the month ahead of us? Well, like I said, 3 planets are going direct. Mars is going retrograde at the end of the month on the 30th of October. The first half of the month, but especially from the 1st until the 13th of October, Saturn in Aquarius will square Uranus in Taurus. I do see protests here. I do see restrictions upon technology. I do see restrictions upon technological developments, upon inventions or innovations. I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that probably we are going to see a bit of a slowdown and maybe a decrease in terms of prices on the crypto market. We know that the crypto market is very sensitive to Uranus transits and to whatever Uranus is doing, because obviously Uranus is the planet of technology and innovation. On the 2nd of October, the good news is that Mercury goes direct in Virgo. Still, even though we're out of the retrograde period, we are still in the shadow, in the post-retrograde shadow period until the 17th, 18th of October. What does that mean? Basically, if you don't see things taking a clear turn or getting solved right after the retrograde is over, I would also kind of like keep an eye on what happens in the sector of your life that was delayed or that experienced disruptions. I would keep an eye out for what's going on in that part of your life after the 17th, 18th of October. On the 7th of October, the Sun in Libra is going to oppose Chiron in Aries. There is a spotlight being placed on wounds, both on an individual and at a collective level, wounds connected with self-assertion. Also on the same day, Mercury is going to trine Pluto in Capricorn. Some positive news connected with institutions, I do believe, and with those in power. On the 8th of October, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn. So finally, it's kind of like moving forward. If there have been kind of like mixed messages from the elites, from institutions, from those in power, it may feel like there's much greater clarity in terms of the messages that are coming across from them to the public. 9th of October, we've got a full moon in Aries at 16 degrees. Do look back at what was going on in your life around the new moon in Aries on the 1st of April, because this full moon is bringing things to a close or is bringing matters to fruition. We have, at the time of the full moon, Mars in Gemini, nicely aspected to the Sun in Libra and to the moon in Aries. And to Saturn in Aquarius. Why is Mars so important at the time of this full moon? Because it is the dispositor of the full moon. Essentially, it feels like we're getting out of a process or a period of negotiation, and of trying to reach some sort of like middle path, middle ground, trying to build a bridge. But Mars is also squaring Neptune in Pisces. It feels like even though this period of negotiation is coming to an end, there are some people, there are some parties involved that are just at a loss, that cannot be compensated for their sufferings and for their loss, or for their losses. Now, I'll put it out there, Aries is a warrior sign. Therefore, matters connected with the war are likely to come to our attention around the 9th of October. At the full moon in Aries, we know that there is a war going on right now in Ukraine. On the 10th of October, Mercury moves into Libra, back into Libra, and Venus in Libra is going to oppose Chiron in Aries. I'll say this, folks, it's not necessarily the most promising of days from a relationship standpoint. It may actually feel like, even though we've got the best of intentions to cooperate, to collaborate with someone relationship-wise, they're just being very kind of like touchy and triggered and very reactive. On the 12th of October, Mars in Gemini is squaring Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so I'm really not liking this because it can lead to all sorts of, I want to say, accidents and incidents involving water, maybe also involving roads and water. On the 17th of October, the Sun in Libra is trining Mars in Gemini, so it does feel like after intense kind of like conversations, a partnership is moving forward. On the 23rd of October, the Sun moves into Scorpio and Saturn goes direct in Aquarius. So that part of your life where you're experiencing the Aquarius archetypal energy, it may feel like it's getting a little bit unstuck, slowly but surely, in a very Saturnian manner. Mercury in Libra is trining Saturn in Aquarius on the same day. It feels like together with a group of people, so at a collective level, there are agreements, pacts, contracts that are coming to fruition, I would say. 23rd of October until the 16th of November, Venus moves into Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of its, well, debility. One of the signs in which Venus is debilitated. I'll put it out there. Venus is going to be at the beck and call of Mars. Our love life, our relationships might actually reach this level of intensity that feels quite extreme throughout this period, folks. So don't say I didn't warn you about it. 25th of October, and also we're probably going to feel it week before week after, there's a new moon solar eclipse in Scorpio at 2 degrees of Scorpio conjunct Venus. Big new chapter in that area of your life where you find Scorpio in your horoscope, and we all have all 12 zodiac signs in our natal charts, in our horoscopes. There may also be this sense of a new beginning at a collective level when it comes to scorpionic matters. So when it comes to buried resources, when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to investments. On the 27th of October, Mercury is going to trine Mars in Gemini, but also square Pluto in Capricorn. So there's this sense of a new beginning, of us moving forward in collaboration with other people in our life. But at the same time, the conversations that we're having and the agreements that we're reaching may omit a part that is kind of like lying hidden in the background. There could also be some hidden agendas that we're not necessarily privy to. 28th of October, folks, until the 21st of December, Jupiter re-enters Pisces. And I'm going to share my take on this for all 12 zodiac signs. On the 29th of October, Mercury moves into Scorpio, so Mercury is joining the Scorpio party. We've got a lot of Scorpio energy going around. In the first part of November, it's peak transformation time, let's say. And 30th of October until the 12th of January 2023, Mars goes retrograde in Gemini. So slowing down on the Gemini front in terms of short distance travel, in terms of conversations, in terms of moving ahead with our initiatives on the educational front. Don't say you haven't been warned, because you obviously have been warned. Let's dive into the updates for each of the 12 zodiac signs. Please remember, folks, to listen to the update for your rising sign first and foremost. If you know your rising sign, if you don't know your rising sign, then obviously do listen to the update for your sun sign. My recommendation, however, if you have your time of birth, or if your mom knows it, or if it's written on your birth certificate, is to go online and to generate your natal chart. Astro.com is really good, or AstroSeek. Generate your natal chart and figure out your rising sign, because it may feel like the forecast for the rising sign is actually much more relevant for what's happening in your life. And also, please remember that astrology predicts from an archetypal standpoint. It tells us the types of archetypal energies that we're dealing with. It tells us how we're likely to feel throughout a certain period. It also tells us what life sectors we're dealing with, but it does not predict exactly how things will materialize in the 3D reality. Why? Because it is not clairvoyance. We are not psychics. If we were psychics, we would have probably, I don't know, won the lottery or something like that. So do keep in mind that obviously I'm going to offer scenarios as to how the energies are likely to play out, but at the same time, keep in mind that there's only so much that astrology can tell you, and secondly, you have free will. You are the co-creator of your reality. My dear Aries, Aries suns and Aries risings, what does October look like for you? Well, there's a lot going on in your 7th house of relationships, of course, because we are still in Libra season until the sun moves into Scorpio in the last week of, roughly the last week of October. In the first half of October, Aries, we've got a little bit of a frustrating aspect going on in the sky. Something that you've dealt with also in 2021. Transiting Saturn in your 11th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 2nd house of income and self-worth. You've dealt with this aspect in 2021, especially in February, in June, and in December of 2021. It's been one of the central transits of 2021. Ask yourself this: what did I feel blocked by throughout these key periods in 2021? So February, June, and December. What did I feel blocked by? Or who did I feel blocked by in terms of achieving my full potential financially, in terms of feeling fully valuable and worthy and appreciated? Also, what did I feel like I have to compromise on in terms of values in order to achieve a long-term goal, in order to achieve a long-term objective, or in order to continue to fit in a group of people that I am a part of, especially a professional tribe, let's say. So in the first half of October, especially until the 13th, it may feel like there's a bit of a clash between the people that you hang out with and also your professional tribe and your more progressive values. It may also feel like you have to keep your yourself from spending money on some of the things that you value and you appreciate in order to achieve a long-term goal, in order to do something that is necessary, especially on a professional level. It is probably going to be frustrating, 100%. Is it going to be worth it? Time will tell. Time will tell. It looks like you do have some goals that you have committed to, and they may have given you that sense of heaviness throughout 2021, also throughout this year, some goals, especially from a professional standpoint. But if they feel aligned with where you want to be headed from a future perspective, then I'd say stick at it, let's say. You may also have a bit of a clash in terms of values with a friend or with the people that are part of your tribe, especially in a professional setup. 2nd of October, Mercury goes direct in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So it may feel like finally you can have a normal conversation and you can get along a lot easier with the people that you work with. It may also feel like some of the things that caused confusion or misunderstandings at work since Mercury went retrograde in September. I shall tell you exactly when. So it may feel like some of these things that caused confusion or misunderstandings are being clarified, which is definitely something to look forward to from the 2nd of October onwards. 2nd, 3rd of October, depending on where you're at in the in the world. So Mercury went retrograde. Let's see. In September, on the 10th of September. So I bet you're looking forward to the retrograde being over. I'm also going to say this. Some of the important conversations that you're having at work, or that you had to have once again, and maybe kind of like clarify certain things with people that you work with since Mercury went retrograde, some of them may be in a much better place after the shadow period is over. So that is going to happen from the 17th, 18th of October onwards. 7th of October, we have Mercury in your 6th house trining Pluto in Capricorn in your 10th house of career. Definitely, it's like you're getting the seal of approval for what you're doing work-wise from a boss. It also feels like you're reaching an agreement with a boss or with someone in a position of authority professionally. If you're presenting something in a public setup career-wise, again, you seem to be very persuasive. You seem to be speaking the language of those who you are trying to convince. Saying that, the sun is going to be on the 7th of October opposing Chiron in Aries in your 1st house. You may feel a little bit exposed in terms of some of your wounds, in terms of your inner wounds, in terms of something that makes you feel a little bit inadequate. You may feel exposed in a relationship with someone else. Also on this day, the sun is the ruler of your 5th house, so it could be in a romantic setup that you feel exposed. 8th of October, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn in the 10th house, so slowly but surely things are getting unclogged. They're moving forward also in terms of your long-term professional development. And on the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in your 1st house in Aries at 16 degrees of Aries. This full moon activates your relationship axis. It may be a time of you kind of like acknowledging that you want to be in a relationship or that you are in the right relationship. It could be a time when you see yourself very, very strongly through the lens of a partner. Mars, which is the dispositor of this full moon, is very nicely aspected to both the moon in your 1st house and to the sun in Libra in your 7th house. It's almost like you feel seen and validated by a significant other, romantically, or by a business partner. It could be a day when or a few days, it could be that the lunation brings to completion, brings to culmination a business partnership. So you could be signing an important deal around this time. I'm liking overall this this full moon, also because it is very nicely aspected to Saturn in your 11th house. So it feels like whatever is happening in your partnership sector and from a personal growth, personal development standpoint, it is contributing to your long-term goals. Saying that, Mars is going to be squaring Neptune and Pisces in your 12th house. I think it's important not to rush through an agreement. I think it's important not to rush through signing the papers. I think it's important to maybe really kind of like clarify the level of energy and involvement that this partnership or this contract requires of you. Because there is a chance, there is a possibility that there might be some extra requirements that you're not necessarily immediately aware of, I dare say. 12th of October, I'm liking this because the sun in your 7th house is trining Saturn in Aquarius in the 11th house. It feels like you have built something, or you're actively building something very successfully with a partner, business or otherwise, for the long run. It could also feel like a day when you're inclined to make an announcement to the outside world about your long-term commitment to a partnership or to a relationship, business or romantic, I dare say. 17th of October, you're being super persuasive when it comes to convincing someone that was on the fence, maybe convincing someone that it is worth being in a relationship with you. It can also be a very romantic day, a day in which you're having some kind of like exciting and mentally stimulating conversations with a partner, and you're like, yeah, this is very sexy. We're on the same page. I'm liking this. 19th of October, a bit of a challenging day in terms of working with someone who just feels like they're at odds with you for the sake of being at odds with you. Maybe you can't immediately see why they're kind of like opposing you, why there's a sense of resistance from them. It could be because of a hidden agenda that you are not aware of. Also, a challenging day for relationships is the 20th of October. It may feel like your partner maybe feels neglected because of the attention that you're giving to your career, or it may feel like they're being dissatisfied with the fact that you are not offering as much kind of like public display of affection or acknowledgement towards them as they would like to receive from you. The 22nd of October is, however, a very romantic day when the sun is conjunct Venus in your 7th house. You do seem to have great fun with a romantic partner on this day, I'd say. 23rd of October, the sun moves into Scorpio in your 8th house. So for the next month, the spotlight is being placed on intimacy and shared resources. It may also feel like you're kind of like diving deep into your psyche and facing some fears. That's how I would see this transit. Saturn is going direct in Aquarius in your 1st house, in your 11th house. My apologies, not in your 1st house. Your long-term goals for the future, some big ones, are moving in the right direction. It's like the tide is turning, and the patience and you holding on to them is worth the wait. There could even be some really good news exactly on this day, or maybe the day before, the day after, connected with your professional goals, because Mercury in your 7th house is trining Saturn and Aquarius in the 11th house of long-term plans. 23rd of October until the 16th of November, Venus moves into Scorpio in your 8th house. Intimacy is about to get a lot more enjoyable. It can also be a period of time in which you want to go deeper and more intensely involved in a relationship. It can also feel like a time when things are moving in your direction a lot more smoothly when it comes to investments, when it comes to loans, when it comes to a mortgage, potentially. 25th of October, week before, week after, there's a new moon solar eclipse. Big, massive new chapter, new beginning on steroids here in your 8th house. It is conjunct Venus and Mars, the dispositor of the new moon, because that's what a solar eclipse is, essentially. Mars, the dispositor of the new moon, is nicely aspected to Mercury and Libra in the 7th house. Okay, so my lovely Aries, especially Aries risings, you could be receiving positive news connected with a mortgage, a loan, an inheritance, or your partner, if you are in a relationship, could be going through a tremendous rebirth in terms of their financial life. Now, I do see a rebirth in the positive sense. So I see potentially more money. There's a possibility that your partner could receive a lump sum of money, and together you're kind of like going to be making plans for the future, utilizing that money. You may also receive good news connected with a scholarship, a bursary. If you were waiting for an investor to kind of say yes, to give you the green light for a round of funding, it's almost as if the wheels are turning in your direction. Now, the new moon and the solar eclipse generally are new beginnings, so times when seeds are being planted. So if you have that aha moment, if you feel like, you know what, I should apply for this, I should apply for this loan, or I should kind of like invest in this, it may be something that turns out really well in the long term, I'd say. You can also have a breakthrough on a psychological level, and you may also feel inspired to start working on your psyche, to start working on your fears, on your traumas in a new way, to start working together with someone, and it's probably going to make a massive, massive difference for you. Jupiter re-enters Pisces from the 28th of October in your 12th house until the 21st of December. There's a sense of growth and expansion once again that you also dealt with in the first part of the year from a spiritual standpoint. It may feel like you want to learn more about the intangible side of life. You may feel inspired to explore more this part of life. You may feel inspired to explore more, to learn more about your shadow, about your patterns of self-sabotage, I'd say. And Mars goes retrograde in your 3rd house on the 30th of October in Gemini until the 12th of January. Okay, so Mars is your chart ruler. If you've been powering through a class, a course, some sort of educational endeavor, you may want to slow down. You may want to retrace your steps. You may want to kind of like reevaluate whether you are studying at the pace that is sustainable and that will not burn you out. Educational initiatives, initiatives involving a local community may feel like they're not moving at the pace that you are used to them moving at, my dear Aries, throughout this period, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay, because not everything has to be kind of like this galloping horse through life. And that is Aries for October. Now, my dear Taurus suns and Taurus risings, what can you expect from the month of October? Well, obviously there's a lot of focus on the area of partnerships and committed relationships. You actually have a new moon solar eclipse, a big, massive, massive new beginning. It may feel like a major moment, a milestone moment in your life relationship-wise on the 25th of October, week before, week after. So eclipse season for you is about relationships, 200%. So 25th of October, week before, week after, there is a solar eclipse in your 7th house, conjunct Venus, your chart ruler. Mars in your 2nd house is very nicely aspected to Mercury and Libra in your 6th house of day-to-day work. A few things may happen here. So first of all, if you are single, you are likely to connect with someone who you may end up in the long term. So with a potentially long-term romantic partner. This can also be a time when you kick off a relationship with someone who's going to help you better utilize your skills, your skill set, someone who's going to help you better value yourself so that you can make more money, so that you can be more successful, so that you can flourish more in your job. I dare say that the seeds that are being planted at the time of this solar eclipse are probably going to blossom fully in June of next year. So remember that a solar eclipse is a moment of new beginnings. The culminating point is probably going to happen sometime in June of next year, my lovely Taurians. Eclipses also feel like fated moments in time, so it may feel like you have this fated encounter with either a romantic partner or a business partner, or someone just comes into your life and says, let me turn your life around, let me shake it up, and let me open up a new path for you. In the first half of the month, my dear Taurians, especially until the 13th of October, Saturn in your 10th house of career is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the first house. It may feel like you're dealing once again with one of the major themes that you dealt with in 2021, a feeling a little bit slowed down or even blocked or potentially delayed when it comes to breaking free from structures in your life that feel oppressive, that feel like they're holding you kind of like stuck in the past. You may feel thwarted in your free expression of who you are by someone in a position of authority. So it could be a boss, it could be your job, it could be the role that you hold. It may feel like the role that you hold career-wise is somehow, how should we say, causing you to ask yourself, is this really who I want to be in the long term? Or is this who I want to continue to be in the long term? That is your question to answer to. Saturn has been in your 10th house of career, essentially slowing things down and asking you to reevaluate what you're building for the long term. It has been in this part of your chart since the last month of 2020, so December of 2020, and it's going to be there until March of 2023. It is a time of hard work. It is a time of increased responsibility work-wise. It is a time when it may feel like you can no longer be your free kind of like rebellious self, and it may feel like that spirit of rebellion inside of you, Taurus, is really kind of like reined in the first half of October. Now, the greater question to ask yourself is, are you in the right industry and are you in the right position? That's it. That's what I have for you. 2nd of October, Mercury goes direct in Virgo in the 5th house. It may feel like some challenges that you've been having in your romantic life, especially connected with communication, are kind of like slowly starting to exit your life. Things are becoming clearer. You may have a clear idea as to where you want your romantic life to be headed. It may also feel like some of the challenges that maybe children had, if you have kids, some of the challenges that they've been having either health-wise or educationally are dissipating. They are dissolving. They are like, things are coming back to normal, let's say. It may actually take until the 17th, 18th of October for things to fully settle in this part of your life. But already, once Mercury is out of retrograde, there's kind of like this sense of like clarity of things coming back to the way they usually function. 7th of October, Mercury in your 5th house is trining Pluto and Capricorn in the 9th house. Good news connected with a journey, connected with traveling, also connected with an educational project that you really put a lot of heart and soul into. You may also feel inspired to go out and to have fun on this day, but it could also be something that kind of like gives you ideas for work at the same time. Pluto goes direct on the 8th of October in your 9th house. So something is definitely kind of like getting unlocked and unblocked in terms of traveling, in terms of exploration, in terms of academia, my dear Taurus. 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your 12th house, 6th house axis. So something might be coming to an end. To be more precise, a job, Taurus. It may feel like a work-related project is completed. I dare say successfully completed, because this full moon is nicely aspected to Saturn and Aquarius in your 10th house. You could be handing in your resignation, or you could be completing a very stressful project at work, and you might feel like, okay, finally I can rest, I can catch my breath. Mars, the dispositor of this full moon, is nicely aspected to the sun in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So it feels like the people that you're working with are giving you appreciation and recognition for your initiative and for your fast thinking. Saying that, the full moon is in a tense aspect to Neptune in your 11th house. You may not be exactly 100% sure as to how the completion of this stressful work-related project, you may not be 100% sure as to how it's going to contribute to you achieving your long-term goals. I would say. If you're leaving a job, which is very possible, there's a part of you that is very excited because it feels like the time has come, but there's a part of you that could be having this sense of anxiety and ambiguity about the future and about what the future holds, which is normal and natural, my dear Taurus. Let's see what else is happening in October. I'm liking the 17th of October because, again, we have the sun harmoniously aspecting Mars and Gemini in the 2nd house. It's like work-related conversations, discussions, partnerships, agreements are flowing very easily in your life, and you feel very emboldened. You could be getting new clients, for instance. You could be kind of like ticking things off your to-do list very, very quickly. On the 19th of October, there may be a sense of frustration connected with traveling for work. There could be some sort of like unforeseen element that gets you really angry at someone. If you're traveling for work, you may also feel a little bit misunderstood by some of the people that you work with, because there is kind of like a difference in culture, I dare say. The sun moves into Scorpio in your 7th house on the 23rd of October, and like I said, the next month is probably going to feel like it's significantly kind of like focused on relationships, and especially the eclipse on the 25th is kind of like putting the spotlight onto relationships. There's that sense of an exciting new romantic chapter. 28th of October, Jupiter re-enters Pisces in your 11th house until the 21st of December. It feels like your social life is growing and expanding, and it also feels like friends and the people that you are aligned with from a mentality perspective are bringing opportunities in your life, and they could be bringing even financial opportunities, and they could also help you clarify how to achieve some of your long-term goals. I also want to flag that Venus, enters Scorpio in your 7th house on the 23rd of October until the 16th of November. So you may feel very personally invested in your relationship sector, but it may also feel like you're getting a lot more love and affection from your partner, and if you're single, from potential partners. 30th of October, Mars goes retrograde in Gemini in your 2nd house. So if you've been kind of like powering through, let's say, all sorts of financial initiatives, if you've been kind of like hustling, making that money, and also kind of like spending, because when Mars is in the 2nd house, there can be a tendency to like get rid of money as quickly as it comes in. You may need to slow down. You may need to reconsider some of your expenses. You may need to reevaluate your budget. You may also need to take a bit of a step back and ask yourself whether all of the initiatives that you've embarked upon that were meant to increase the amount of money that you make, are they all viable? Are they all smart? Have you thought them through enough? That is the question. You may also feel like you have to go back over potentially classes, courses, go back to the drawing board, as they say, when it comes to some of the skills that you thought you had mastered. Also, because Mars is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, there is a possibility that an exciting business partnership is kind of like being slowed down and delayed as well from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. My dear Geminis, Gemini suns and Gemini risings, what can you expect from October 2022? Well, a lot of work, but also a lot of fun, and something that you're probably looking forward to: Mercury going direct. Mercury going out of retrograde, which is happening on the 2nd of October in your 4th house of home and family life. Mercury is your chart ruler. Therefore, if you felt like you were not on the same page anymore with family members, with a parent in particular, if you were experiencing misunderstandings with a parent, things are likely to get a lot better from the 2nd of October, 2nd, 3rd of October onwards. Even better from the 17th, 18th of October onwards, when the shadow period is over as well. If you were supposed to accomplish something at home, or if you were supposed to accomplish something connected with property, land, that involved papers, paperwork, bureaucracy, let's say, and if you felt super frustrated about this whole thing whilst Mercury was in retrograde for most of September, actually, things are likely to take a turn for the better once Mercury gets out of retrograde. You're also going to be experiencing, probably this is going to be one of the most memorable events of the month, a new moon solar eclipse on the 25th of October, a week before, week after, in your 6th house of day-to-day work, Geminis. Mars, the dispositor of the eclipse, is going to be very nicely aspected to Mercury and Libra in your 5th house of enjoyment. What I'm thinking is you're probably about to start off a new job, or about to get a new job, or about to interview for a new job that allows you to utilize on a day-to-day basis your talents more, and that allows you to do more of what you like doing on a day-to-day basis. So to really bring your passion into your work. There's also a high chance that you may start off a new set of routines around the 25th of October, week before, week after, and maybe institute a new habit. Something that allows you to do, again, more of what you love every day. You may feel inspired to put more energy on a day-to-day basis into what you love, and that is probably going to result long-term in you feeling generally better overall, health-wise, physically, mentally, emotionally, so in all respects. There could also be a new team member joining your team at work. Very, very possible as well. You may also have a bit of a change of heart, a bit of a change in mentality connected with your health in general around the 25th of October. And it feels like something inspires you to give up on maybe a habit that had an emotional hold over you. The first half of October, Geminis, so I gave you the good news. There's more good news, but the first half of October is also a period of time in which you're dealing with something that maybe you thought you had dealt with, and maybe you thought you were done with it for good in 2021. So in 2021, for most of the year, you felt like everyone else. Saturn in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus. For you, this is activating your 9th house and your 12th house. So they're both connected with spirituality, beliefs. They're both connected also with foreign lands and foreign countries in some shape or form. The 12th house is also considered a place of exile. So where are we exiled? Away from home. There could be significant delays that you're experiencing in the first half of October. Significant delays and even frustrations when it comes to a matter that involves the legal system, that involves foreign lands, foreign countries, that involves legal institutions, that involves maybe foreign institutions, maybe something connected with visa, residency, passport, and so on. There could be all sorts of unexpected blockages, I dare say, preventing you from maybe enjoying your time abroad if you are traveling. You may also feel a bit rebellious and frustrated with maybe a legal institution or a religious institution, but it may feel like you have to keep this to yourself. It may feel like you can't really shout it out from the rooftops, I would say, because potentially that would alienate you from a group of people that is very important to you, Geminis. It may also feel like you're not making a lot of progress. On the absolute contrary, there could be some unforeseen obstacles from an academic perspective. So when it comes to master's, your bachelor's degree, your PhD, and so on, it may feel like you have to make a compromise in order to move forward with whatever you've got planned from an academic standpoint. I'm liking the 7th of October, so I told you there's also good news, because Mercury in your 4th house of home is trining Pluto and Capricorn in the 8th house, so it may feel like a crisis at home connected with money is over, maybe also a crisis connected with a parent, maybe with the health of a parent or with their job. 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your 11th, 5th house axis. Full moons are times of completion. Look back at what you were doing or what you were planning in terms of goals for the future around the 1st of April, because that's when you were experiencing a new moon in this part of your chart. So it could feel like you have completed something that you kicked off. Together with a group of people around this time, around the 9th of October. This can be a very social time. It can be a time of fun. It can also be a time to go out and celebrate an achievement with your tribe, to celebrate a group achievement with your tribe. You could also connect with people that you study together with, and overall it may feel like a very fun time, but still there's kind of like a part of you that is feeling a little bit left out, let's say, as if you have to keep something very important about yourself private in this sort of setup. It could feel like you're achieving a goal and an objective, very exciting around this time, maybe connected with a creative endeavor or connected with your education. Definitely you're having fun, but like I said, there's this kind of like caveat of you maybe feeling like there's a part of yourself that needs to lie in hiding, and you can't really share this with the outside world. I am also liking the 12th of October. So the sun in your 5th house of enjoyment is trining Saturn in Aquarius in the 9th house. It feels like you are deriving a high degree of enjoyment by doing something very hard together with a partner or together with your child. It could feel like you're helping, if you have children, you're helping your children, or at least one of them, with a very kind of like challenging endeavor educationally, and you may feel very proud of yourself for having the ability to help them in the first place. You could also have a sense of acknowledgement towards yourself in terms of how far you've come to appreciating your gifts and your talents and even your wits, I would say, my lovely Geminis. 17th of October, the sun in your 5th house is trining Mars in Gemini in the 1st house of identity. Mars is, for you Geminis, the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work and of your 11th house of friends. It may feel like you're having a lot of fun at work. You could also be doing a little bit of flirting at work. I mean, I don't know. Is that still frowned upon in this day and age? Definitely, it feels like your mind is on fire, and there's people who appreciate you for it, and you're having a swell time. You're having some really kind of like interesting conversations and fun connections, and it can also be a romantic connection that comes to the spotlight. 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio in your 6th house of day-to-day work. I kid you not, for the next month, probably your focus is going to be on work and health. Very, very busy. Also, new beginning coming up in this aspect, in this sector of your life once the eclipse kicks in. So 25th of October, week before, week after, with Venus in your 6th house from the 23rd of October until the 16th of November. Work is likely to feel much more enjoyable. You may also feel inspired to work on aspects of your life that bring you pleasure, that bring you joy. You may also feel inspired to maybe ramp up your health regimen so that you can feel more beautiful. Something along those lines. 28th of October, Jupiter comes back into Pisces in your 10th house of career. Geminis, until the 21st of December, from the 28th of October, it is your time to grow, to expand, to take on new opportunities career-wise, or to really take that leap of faith in the direction of something that feels exciting, new, but also that brings a high degree of unknown and chaos in your life, career-wise and professionally. It may also feel like a window that was open to you from a career opportunity perspective is kind of like back on your radar. It could have been something that was brought into your life, potentially by someone from the outside. In the first part of the year, from January until the 10th of May, do take risks because you generally are protected with Jupiter in your 10th house of career, and don't be afraid to play the role of the guide, the teacher, and the mentor, and also don't be afraid to enter into exciting partnerships career-wise until the 21st of December. My lovely Geminis. Mars goes retrograde in your 1st house from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. It may feel like you need to slow down when it comes to doing things completely on your own. It may feel like you need to slow down also in terms of how much you push your body to be active. With Mars in your 1st house, there's generally kind of like a higher than usual, maybe tendency to burn yourself out, to go beyond what your body is comfortable with doing. So you may need to kind of like slow down and say, is this a little bit too much for me physically? I'd also say that you may feel a little bit less motivated to stick whilst Mars is retrograde, a little bit less motivated to stick with the new healthy habits that you have instituted in your life. Which is okay. We're humans, so you don't have to judge yourself too harshly. It may also feel like you are potentially doubting a little bit some of the new paths or new endeavors or new initiatives that you said yes to work-wise. But that's okay. If something gets delayed job-wise or work-wise, or if you're having second thoughts, it might be a good idea to really take a step back and ask yourself, what do I really want? Mars is in the 1st house, is about what you want. You may not be that sure about what you want whilst it's retrograde, but it is a good time to have a conversation with yourself on that front. And that is Gemini for October. Now, if you are a Cancer sun or a Cancer rising, like yours truly here, October is very exciting. It's maybe it's maybe a little bit more fun for you than it is for other people, because there's going to be a lot going on, especially in the last week of October, and maybe even from the second kind of like in the second half of October onwards. There's going to be a lot going on in your 5th house of enjoyment and entertainment. Probably one of the most memorable events of the month is the solar eclipse in your 5th house of love and children and creativity and creative self-expression and passions and hobbies on the 25th of October, week before, week after. This is conjunct Venus, which is the general significator for love. This could be the beginning of an exciting new romantic adventure. You may be having what I call fated encounters on a romantic level. You may discover a new passion, a new talent, a new hobby, a new way to bring joy into your life, which, if you ask me, is probably one of the best things that could happen to you. Some Cancerians, especially Cancer risings, may hear news of pregnancy. If they are not getting pregnant, it could be their partner is getting pregnant, or it could be someone very close to them. So there's almost like this news of a new child coming into their life. Some of you folks might be getting a puppy or a pet. Just putting it out there. That's also very, very possible. The dispositor of this new moon, Mars, is in your 12th house. So you can't see this coming. The 12th house is a very hidden place. And it's very nicely aspected to Mercury and Libra in your 4th house of home. There is a possibility that you could be hearing some really positive news also from a sibling, because Mercury is the ruler of your 3rd house of siblings. In any case, it feels like this new source of joy that's coming into your life is something very private and something that you did not see coming at all. And for some reason, it can be connected with family, children, or even a parent, I want to say. So I'm loving this eclipse for you, Cancerians. I'm going to be very honest. I know, obviously, the eclipse is in Scorpio, and Scorpio can be very emotionally intense, but you can deal with emotions. I mean, you're a Cancerian, right? You may also kind of like plant the seeds that are going to flourish in terms of children, pregnancy, or new passions and hobbies, or an exciting new creative project. You could be planting the seeds that are going to blossom and flourish next year in May, June, especially in June, I dare say, Cancerians. Mercury is going out of retrograde. It was retrograde in September, of course. It's going out of retrograde on the 2nd of October. It's going direct in your 3rd house of communication. So finally, it may feel like it's a lot easier to talk to people on a day-to-day basis, to maybe reach some sort of agreement with neighbors, to feel like you're being as persuasive as you normally are, Cancerians. You may also feel like things are falling into place when it comes to transportation, when it comes to your car, if you've been having challenges. Saying that, the first half of October is also under the influence of Saturn in your 8th house, squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 11th house of plans for the future. This is something that you've been dealing with also in 2021. You may have felt in 2021, especially in February, June, and December, a little bit thwarted, a little bit delayed, a little bit maybe blocked even, prevented from kind of like going after at least some of your long-term goals and plans for the future because of material or financial restrictions connected with a partner, a business partner, or a life partner. You could be feeling also very frustrated and annoyed with the fact that you can't just kind of like freely go after one of your long-term goals and targets because of something that's happening in the life of a partner. It could be something of a financial nature, or it could be something of a psychological nature that is kind of like keeping your partner maybe in a state of fear, I'd say, in a state of excessive precaution. You may also feel a little bit at odds with a friend around this time in the first half of October because their values may come across to you as very rigid and restrictive, and it may even feel to you like they're in this kind of like mentality of fear and lack, whereas you want to break free and you want to kind of like go full steam ahead for the future. Just putting it on your radar. I'm liking the 7th of October because Mercury in your 3rd house is trining Pluto and Capricorn in the 7th house of relationships. A time to sign a deal with a partner, a time to get on the same page about a long-term goal or something connected with work, a time to get on the same page with either a business partner or even a life partner. If you're presenting something on this day, if you are also looking to buy or to sell something around this time, the 7th of October looks like a pretty good day to me. I'll put it out there. The 9th of October brings with it a full moon in Aries in your 10th house of career. A time of culmination career-wise. Are you making an announcement, Cancerians? Are you getting promoted? Very possibly. Are you saying yes to a new role, to a new position? Do you have something to kind of like share with the world career-wise? Probably. It feels like you have overcome some sort of crisis career-wise. It feels like you have a lot of clarity in terms of your path professionally. It could also be a time when you receive some sort of bonus or news about a bonus, my dear Cancerians. I would recommend that you look back at what you were doing career-wise around the 1st of April, or what you started, what kicked off, because the full moon on the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, could be bringing things to a close, I would say. There's also a possibility that you may be launching around the 9th of October something career-wise that you've been working a great deal behind the scenes. So you've been keeping things under wraps. You've been doing a lot of research. You've been doing a lot of maybe individually and quite silently. You've been doing a lot of digging and maybe kind of like covering all of your bases, preparing for like worst case scenarios and so on. And now it's like, here you are. It's out into the world. Overall, the eclipse is very nicely aspected to Saturn. So I'm thinking that things are turning out nicely for the long term, career-wise for you around this time. Also, Mars is in a nice aspect to the Sun at the time. Mars is the dispositor of the full moon. The only thing that I'm concerned about a little bit is the fact that this full moon we have in the sky at the time of it, Mars in the 12th house squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 9th house. Let's put it this way. If you're launching a marketing campaign, or if you're launching your website or something of this nature, you could deal with some challenges, unforeseen challenges from an international standpoint. So if you're addressing yourself to different markets, there could be some issues connected with the legal side of things or connected with shipping, for instance. You may also be considered a little bit, I want to say, culturally insensitive potentially. So be very careful if you're launching something that is supposed to appeal to various kind of like groups of people from different backgrounds. 17th of October, the Sun in your 4th house is trining Mars and Gemini in the 12th house. I'm also liking this because it feels like you're making a lot of money, or something's going very nicely, very well financially in your home and private life. There could also be some sort of financial gift that reaches your doorstep, potentially from a parent. 19th of October, the Sun in your 4th house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 7th house. It feels like you're not on the same page when it comes to a home-related matter, maybe something that involves a lot of spending. You're not on the same page with a partner about this. Just putting it out there. It can also be a day of power struggles over something home-related or connected with finances with your life partner. 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio in your 5th house. I mean, I'm liking it. I'm liking it tremendously for the next month, but especially until the 16th of November. You seem to be having a lot of fun. There's a lot of joy in your life. There's a lot of excitement. It's a great time to go out. It's a great time to go out on dates. You're being very creative, very inspired. I'm very much liking this period. 20th of October, Jupiter comes back into Pisces in your 9th house of foreign lands, foreign countries, long distance travel until the 21st of December. Please take every single opportunity, Cancerians, to travel, especially long distance, to immerse yourself in a new culture, to broaden your views and your horizons, to educate yourself, to also play the role work-wise, because Jupiter is the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work, to play the role of the teacher, of the professor, of the mentor. You could be actually inspired to broaden your horizons from a spiritual standpoint as well. And especially if you're traveling, it may feel like you're growing from a spiritual perspective as well, my dear Cancerians. You could also wrap up, or you may feel kind of like this new boost in positivity and optimism. You could wrap up something of an academic nature that you started in the first part of the year until the 10th of May, when Jupiter first came into your ninth house of academia and foreign lands and foreign countries. Jupiter is generally the yes planet, so if you have applied for, I don't know, like an academic program, you're probably going to get a yes from the 20th of October until the 21st of December. If you've been, I don't know, manifesting opportunities to travel to a new country, you're probably going to attract that in your life. So make the most of it, I'd say. 30th of October, Mars goes retrograde in Gemini in your 12th house. Okay, until the 12th of January, Mars, which is the ruler of your 5th house and of your 10th house of career, is saying there's a little bit of cleaning up that you need to do from a psychological perspective, from an emotional perspective, before you can move forward in this exciting new direction, career-wise, and in terms of your passions and hobbies. You may feel like you're dealing with psychological challenges that you've dealt with in the past, or with mental health issues that you've dealt with in the past. There could be a sense of things happening behind the scenes that actually slow you down in your progress professionally, and also when it comes to one of your passions and hobbies and creative endeavors. But that's okay. Sometimes we just have to kind of like accept and appreciate the fact that we are not prepared for everything, and there's still going to be chaos, and we can deal with it gracefully. We don't have to beat ourselves up. We don't have to kind of like fall back into patterns of self-sabotage and negative self-talk, which is a possibility with Mars retrograde in your 12th house. Do take the opportunity to maybe educate yourself even further when it comes to potentially kind of like hidden challenges from a professional perspective that you can encounter, especially if you're working for yourself and if you're doing your own thing, my dear Cancerians. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings. October, Leos, is going to be full on, and I mean full on. We've got an eclipse in Scorpio in your 4th house of home. We also have, in the first half of the month, especially until the 13th of October, Saturn in your 7th house of relationships, squaring Uranus in your 10th house of career. It may feel this month, Leos, like you're being pulled in 4 different directions at the same time. And there's a lot of friction. There's also new beginnings. There's excitement, but it is a very intense month. You may feel stressed out at times. You may feel like you are potentially going to crack a little bit under the pressure, but hold your horses and please don't crack, because good things are coming. Even out of chaos, good things eventually emerge, I would say. And sometimes we definitely don't feel inspired to make any changes in our life if there isn't chaos and stress. So the outcome is likely to be a positive and rewarding one, even if initially you are going through the birth canal, the tunnel, the hard kind of like grind, let's say. So let's talk about the eclipse first and foremost, because this is probably going to be one of the most exciting times of the month. 25th of October, week before, week after, new beginning in your home and family life. You could be moving into a new home. You could be hearing some really exciting news from family members. There could be a surprise coming up. When it comes to family members, maybe a parent has some sort of like surprise announcement to make, or a sibling has some surprise announcement to make. Mars, which is the dispositor of this new moon, is nicely aspected to Mercury in Libra in your 3rd house of siblings. Hence why, if you do have siblings, then they could have like an out of the blue announcement to make to you. Maybe they're moving someplace else. Maybe they're getting married. Maybe they're getting a baby or something along those lines. You may also feel like you're kicking off officially a new chapter in terms of your living situation, your home and family life. Something is getting unblocked. There's kind of like new positive things on the horizon for you. You could be starting life in a new place altogether. So if you haven't moved, or if you haven't made plans to move this year, especially the risings, I dare say that the eclipse coming up on the 25th of October, week before, week after, may give you a nudge in that direction. I'm liking the fact that the eclipse is conjunct Venus, which is the general significator of love, pleasure, and enjoyment. So if you are moving into a new home, if you do decide around this time to make a move in terms of property and living situation, long term, you're probably going to get out of this whole thing in a more enjoyable place, symbolically speaking. The new moon solar eclipse is a time of planting seeds. The seeds are likely to blossom and turn into a beautiful flower or tree next year in May, June, and especially in June, I would say. First half of the month, like I said, there's stress and tension, and there's maybe a feeling of being held back by a partner, a business partner or a romantic partner, in terms of breaking free from a restrictive situation at work or in your professional path. Let's put it this way. It may feel like you have to work with someone that is being really stubborn. It may feel like you have to work with someone that's being super old school. It may feel like you're working with someone who is really against innovation and progress. They're not coming from a bad place. They're just probably a bit more cautious than you are, and they're just probably not wanting to rock the boat as much as you do. You may also feel in the first half of the month, even if you're going to be judged by others, you may feel like you really have to share something about yourself that makes you feel authentically you, that makes you feel free and liberated. And it could be something that you need to announce about your partnership sector or your relationship sector, my dear Leos. This is an energy in the first half of October that you've also dealt with in 2021, especially in February, June, and December. Look at the sources of frustration, relationship-wise and career-wise, and in terms of your status and reputation. Look at the sources of frustration that you dealt with in 2021, because they're probably going to come back to your conscious attention, Leos. 2nd of October, the good news is that Mercury goes direct in your second house of income. So if you've been experiencing delays in getting paid, if you've been experiencing challenges with your budget, with your general kind of like expenses and payments schedule, I'd say that this is likely to fall back into place. Things are looking much brighter from the 2nd of October onwards, but especially from the 17th, 18th of October onwards, once the shadow period is also over. On the 7th of October, Mercury in your second house of income is trining Pluto and Capricorn in the 6th house. You're either getting paid on this day or you are receiving appreciation for a job well done at work, and your self-esteem is kind of like getting all fluffy and cozy. And what am I even saying about your self-esteem, Leos? You get what I'm trying to say, I hope. Essentially, you're feeling much more appreciated and valuable and worthy. 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your axis of learning and traveling. You could be hearing positive news connected with your education, connected with your exams, connected with your academic status. You could be receiving the news that you've been accepted for some sort of academic program. This full moon is very nicely aspected to Saturn in your 7th house of relationships. So if you have been working with someone, if you have been working with a consultant or an advisor that was supposed to help you succeed educationally, that was supposed to help you fulfill your goals, you're probably going to congratulate yourself and say, I was wise to work with this person. I would also say that this can be a time when you're signing an official partnership and when you are kind of like on the same page with a business partner. It could be something that involves maybe traveling for you work-wise. It could also be something that involves that has a certain international element, maybe an element of import, export, or working with different markets. Mars, which is the dispositor of this full moon, is very nicely aspected from the 11th house of the future and of friends and tribes and collaborators. Mars is very nicely aspected to both the sun and the moon and to Saturn in the 7th house. So it feels like you have a much clearer understanding of how you're going to achieve together with a collaborator your long-term plans. You may also go out and celebrate the good news academically and educationally with your friends around this time and with a romantic partner, very possibly. Mars, however, is in a tense aspect to Neptune in Pisces in your 8th house. There could still be some challenges that you're dealing with on an emotional level, or when it comes to having some payments that you need to make when it comes to your classes, courses, academic path, and you may not be exactly sure how you're going to deal with these payments or loans or even debts, I'd say, Leos. You could be completing your studies around this time. You could be receiving a certification, but I sense some tension and I sense some confusion around the whole kind of like matter of money, Leos. So do look into that if possible. I am liking the, 12th of October, because this is a time when it feels like you're finally getting on the same page with someone that's been really stubborn in a work environment, or someone that's been excessively conservative and cautious. 17th of October can be a very fun time with friends. You could have some really exciting kind of like, I want to say conversations with friends, or conversations, maybe even more heated debates with people that you are hanging out with your peers, with your friends, with your tribe. You could also feel inspired and motivated to go after one of your long-term goals by a friend who's really kind of like blowing wind in your sails. I would say, Leos. On the 19th of October, some disruption on the road, potentially. If you're traveling to work, there could be, I don't know, like an accident in the middle of the road and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna be late. It is what it is, I'd say. You may also feel a little bit misunderstood, or feel like someone's being really narrow at work. Maybe a coworker or a collaborator at work. And it's like, no matter how hard you try to get them out of their shell and out of their kind of like way of seeing things, they're just in resistance, I'd say. 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio in your 4th house of home. Let's see. So Venus is going to be there until the 16th of November. Now, for you, my dear Leos, Venus is the ruler of your 10th house and of your 3rd house of communication. So first and foremost, from the 23rd of October until the 16th of November, it's a great time to purchase things for the house, beautiful things, beautiful furniture, to redecorate the house, and so on. It's also a great time, for instance, to bring like an architect or an interior designer and give them free reign to transform your home. You may also feel like relationships with family members are becoming smoother whilst Venus is moving through your 4th house. 28th of October, Jupiter re-enters Pisces in your 8th house of shared assets, shared resources, and psychological transformation. What do I like about this transit, Leos, is the fact that you can feel very positive and optimistic and literally see it grow in front of you. What aspect of your life? The area of investments, passive income, shared assets and resources that you have with a partner, business or life partner. You may also feel like you're making fantastic progress and you're looking at it with new eyes. You're making fantastic progress in terms of your mental health and in terms of overcoming challenging, let's say, challenging aspects of your life that have been keeping you maybe almost like a prisoner within your own psyche. The area of intimacy is likely to feel like it's becoming a great source of joy and of almost like meaning in your life. You could also be receiving, if you haven't already received this in the first part of the year until the 10th of May, by the end of this year, you could be receiving a lump sum of money, such as inheritance, tax rebate, money from insurance or something of that nature. The same could happen for your partner, or the other possibility is that by the end of the year, your partner could receive a raise, a financial raise. And Mars is going to go retrograde in your 11th house in Gemini from the 30th of October until the 12th of January next year. Mars is the ruler of your 9th house and of your 4th house. Let's put it this way. You may be feeling super excited about moving forward with your education or moving forward with some of the initiatives and the projects that you have set into motion at home. But whilst Mars is retrograde, you might need to rediscuss some of the goals that you have set in these two particular sectors of your life. You might need to rediscuss these with your team, I want to say, or with the people that you are collaborating with on this front. You may also feel a little bit less sure about some of the plans for the future that you've made in general, some of your long-term goals and objectives. You could be having doubt. You could be feeling less assertive about just hitting that bullseye, which is natural. It's absolutely natural whilst Mars is going in retrograde. You may, however, experience the opportunity to learn or to study with people that you have studied with in the past in terms of teachers and mentors from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. Also, if you are waiting for the results of a trial or something of that nature, of a legal nature, it could be delayed. It could get delayed from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, my dear Virgos, what does October have in store for you? Well, I've got good news. I've also got some challenging stuff, but that is part of life, isn't it? So Mercury goes direct. That's the great news. On the 2nd of October in your 1st house, you may feel like you've got the ability to kind of like make yourself very easily understood by others. Once again, you may feel much more sure of where you're headed, of your life direction. You may also feel much more, I want to say, sure of what you're going to be doing next career-wise, because Mercury is also the ruler of your 10th house of career. You may also feel like some conversations that you've been having in a career setup, maybe with someone in a position of authority, like a boss, or someone kind of like higher up, hierarchically, they are finally moving in the right direction after Mercury goes out of retrograde on the 2nd of October. And significant progress seems to be made also after the shadow period of the retrograde is over, 17th, 18th of October, that is. There's a new moon solar eclipse on the 25th of October, week before, week after, in your 3rd house of communication and studies and short distance travel, conjunct Venus, my dear Virgos. Venus for you is the ruler of, let's see, your 9th house and your 2nd house of income. Okay, so you may kick off an exciting new learning chapter in your life. You may feel inspired to study something new. You may feel inspired to study something that is not only going to broaden your horizons, but it is also likely to increase your ability to attract wealth and prosperity in your life. It's likely to increase basically your value and your worth, even from a financial, from a monetary perspective. It's like it's putting you on the radar in a new way. Mars, which is the dispositor of this solar eclipse, is very nicely aspected from your 10th house of career to Mercury and Libra in your 2nd house of income. Whatever you feel called or drawn, or whatever comes up in your life that offers you the possibility to learn, to develop your skill set, I dare say take it. Take it, and don't look back, because you're probably going to thank yourself when you see that number kind of like going up in your bank account. You may also start learning almost like a new language, I want to say. It could be like an actual language for work-related purposes, or it could be something like code. You may also feel inspired to kind of like start moving in or traveling in a new way. So to kind of like get your driver's license, because it's going to open up new opportunities work-wise around this time. Also, your siblings could have some very positive news to bring to your attention at the time of the eclipse. Now, going a little bit back in time, because I jumped straight to one of the most significant events of the month. Going a little bit back in time, in the first half of October, there is some frustration that I see you dealing with when it comes to feeling a little bit blocked or delayed or restricted in terms of traveling, or in terms of some of your educational or academic plans. I see you being held back by something that's moving very slowly at work. You may also feel like there's a clash with those who are a bit more old school at work. There's a clash between your belief system and their belief system, or they're acting excessively cautiously when you can kind of like see exactly the way forward and the need for progress. There could be some frustrations work-wise that have to do with bureaucracy throughout this period of time. So I did want to put that on your radar. We are experiencing, let's see, a full moon in your 8th house. It's activating your 2nd house, 8th house axis, what we call the financial axis, on the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after Virgos. This full moon is probably going to bring to your attention news or a sense of completion and culmination when it comes to you paying your debts, loans, taxes. You're probably feeling a sense of relief, I dare say. The full moon is very nicely aspected to Saturn in your 6th house. It may feel like you're also overcoming a crisis or a bit of a stalemate at work. It feels like you finally found this sort of like middle ground between your values, what's important to you, and what's important to those who you are working with. You could also be receiving some sort of like bonus around this time, or simply feeling like your worth is being acknowledged by some of your team members and by some of those who actually got in the way of you achieving what you wanted to achieve work-wise on a day-to-day basis. You could also be having a bit of a breakthrough from a psychological standpoint, feeling like you've overcome the source of a blockage on a day-to-day basis, and you have that epiphany and say, this is where it's been coming from. I found it. And now I can release it. You may also make a significant payment connected with your health around this time, but you definitely seem to have the money. And it seems to, again, kind of like lift a weight off your shoulders, my dear Virgos. Mars is nicely aspected. Mars is the dispositor of this full moon. Nicely aspected to the sun in your second house of income. So you could be getting paid also around this time. You may feel really empowered in a position of leadership at work around this time to kind of like get something done. And you may actually get something done that involved significant transformation of work processes, of methodologies, and so on. Let's see. I'm also liking the 17th of October from a career perspective for you, my dear Virgos. Again, things are moving in your favor. It feels like even factors outside of your immediate control are kind of like contributing to you pushing forward with major initiatives. Career-wise, I want to say very productive conversations around finances and money on the 17th of October. 12th of October, on the other hand, it may feel like you're talking to someone at work that just doesn't get you. There's kind of like complete fog. So just putting it out there. Let's see. On the 19th of October, you could be spending a little bit too much money for matters that have to do with fun, enjoyment, and entertainment. Also, 19th, 20th, you may feel the squeeze financially when it comes to something that you need to pay for your children, if you have children, I'd say. 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio in your third house of communication, short distance travel, siblings, especially until the 16th of November. You're probably going to really enjoy talking to your siblings, talking to your neighbors, communicating with colleagues. It may feel like, I would say, you're also learning a lot from the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis that come from a different culture and from a different cultural background. You could also be traveling short distance quite a bit, but it's probably going to feel very enjoyable, I'd say. It's kind of like a period of you enjoying being in a classroom type of situation, my dear Virgos, until the 16th of November at least. 20th of October until the 21st of December, Jupiter comes back into Pisces in your 7th house of relationships. My dear Virgos, if you are single, and if you did not enter into a relationship this year until the 10th of May, in the first part of the year, then there is another opportunity for you to open up to the possibility of a long-term committed relationship from the 20th of October until the 21st of December. Expansion and opportunities via partners, via significant others, via life partners or business partners are the key theme with Jupiter in your 7th house. You have a lot to learn from others. Others are opening doors for you. Jupiter is also the ruler of your 4th house of home. So you could be having some significant conversations if you are already with someone around purchasing a home together or moving into a home together or expanding the home and family life that you have built together. Also, you could be sensing that your partner is becoming more, if you're already with someone, they're becoming more than you thought they were, or than you thought they could be, than you kind of like saw in them from a potential perspective. It's like a very auspicious and beneficial period for your partner. It's a period of growth, of expansion, of new opportunities, of maybe being called to like travel, to study something new. 30th of October until the 12th of January, we have a Mars going retrograde in your 10th house of career. Okay, so until the 12th of January, Virgos, I dare say that the fast pace of developments career-wise is probably going to slow down. Some of the initiatives that you embarked upon, you may have to put the foot on the brakes on them. It may also feel like it's a little bit harder for you to assert yourself or to kind of like stand out as a figure of authority in a professional environment. You could also be dealing with some conflicts from the past with the boss throughout this period. Mars is the ruler of your third house of communication, so I would be very careful what you say and kind of like what words you use and how you talk to people in a professional environment, because it can backfire whilst Mars is retrograde. It could be misinterpreted. You could be seen as pushy or aggressive, even if that was not your intention at all. You may also feel a little bit less sure about some of the transformations that you've made from a work and career perspective this year in your life. You may have like second thoughts, you may have doubts, you may also feel like an old kind of like crisis or something that you thought was dealt with is coming back to your conscious attention. I wouldn't necessarily start off something new whilst Mars is retrograde in your 10th house, but obviously if you have to, you have to. I wouldn't start off something new in a professional environment. I would also reevaluate what type of boss you want to be, Virgos, especially if you are in a position of power. So I would reevaluate the definition of what it means to be in charge, what it means to be in a position of authority. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings, what does October have in store for you? Well, there is a lot going on this month, like I said previously. First and foremost, Mercury is going out of retrograde. It's going out of retrograde on the 2nd of October in your 12th house. If you've been feeling like there's been all sorts of intrusive thoughts, doubts, anxieties, worries, keeping you up at night, it may actually feel like these are slowly but surely dissipating. They are making their way out of your life. Also, if you've been feeling a little bit at a loss whilst Mercury was retrograde for the most part of September, if you've been feeling a little bit at a loss when it comes to your education, when it comes to maybe something that had to do with a governmental institution, maybe something that had to do with traveling, if you are confused and didn't know exactly what to do, where to go, how to proceed, it may feel like you are getting clarity after Mercury goes out of retrograde, but especially after the shadow period is also over, which is going to be on the 17th, 18th of October. We also have a full moon coming up in Aries on the 9th of October in your 7th house of relationships. Pay attention to the 3 days before, 3 days after, my dear Libras. I want you to remember, if you can, obviously, I want you to remember what was going on in the area of partnerships and relationships around the 1st of April this year, because it may feel like this full moon is bringing things to a close, or this full moon is putting the spotlight on some sort of culminating moment in the area of partnerships and relationships. It may feel like you are reaching some sort of important, some sort of significant moment in terms of commitment with your partner. It may feel like you are ready to take the next step. It feels like you are ready to take a relationship to the next level. It may also feel like something very significant is happening in the life of your partner, and it is also impacting you. It's impacting your children if you have kids together. It is also impacting some of the things that you're building together, that you're working on together in a home setup, or when it comes to your home and living situation. You could be moving into a new home with your partner. You could be agreeing to go and live together if you haven't been living together up until this point. You may also feel around the time of this full moon like you are clearly seeing one of your partner's wounds, something that maybe determined them to be a little bit angry or frustrated or excessively reactive. It may feel like now you have clarity as to why they have been acting in this manner. I want to remind you that this full moon is very nicely aspected to Saturn in your 5th house. Together with a partner, you may be completing a creative project. It could be at work, or you may be completing something that required a lot of work within the home. However, I also want to put on your radar the fact that Mars, which is the dispositor of this full moon, is squaring Neptune and Pisces in your 6th house. Let's put it this way. Your partner might have some significant, some important news for you around this time. Something that maybe is very positive for them. But on the other hand, you may have your doubts as to how things are going to work out for you together as a couple when it comes to your day-to-day work. Now, if you are not with someone, Libras, then you are likely to connect with someone or to feel drawn to someone who may turn out to be a solid choice in terms of options for a long-term partnership. So you may feel connected to someone that you see yourself with in the future, building a future together around this time, even though there could be some significant cultural differences between the two of you. Another important event of this month, of October actually, is the following. Let's see. So Mercury goes out of retrograde. Pluto also goes out of retrograde in your 4th house of home on the 8th of October. That's why I said that it may feel like this month things are getting unstuck, they're getting unblocked at home. It may also feel like you are getting kind of like on the same page with a parent from the 8th of October onwards. In the first half of October, from the 1st until the 13th in particular, Saturn in your 5th house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in the 8th house of shared assets and shared resources. Let's put it this way. This is an energy that you've also dealt with in 2021, especially in February, June, and December of 2021. It may feel like you want to curb. It may feel like you want to block. I want to say some of your partner's impulsive or excessive habits when it comes to spending money. You may also feel like you're not exactly on the same page with your partner when it comes to spending a significant lump sum of money, either for the home or for your kids, or for both if you have children together. You may also feel like the extreme values of some of the people that you need to deal with, either in a work environment or in your personal life. It may feel like some of their more extreme kind of like values and behaviors are preventing you from enjoying yourself and from kind of like having a good time and having fun, I want to say. You might also have to handle, and you could be a little bit worried, to be honest, in the first half of October, you might have to handle some challenges when it comes to maybe the mental health of a child, if you have children, dear Libras. I also want to put on your radar the following in October. So I'm liking the 12th of October because it does feel like you have a much stronger understanding of what is going to be the best choice, the best option for your kids, especially if they have been having challenges in the first half of October. You may finally see, okay, this is what is going to help them feel much more at peace and much more safe and much more secure in the future. You may also have a very romantic day on the 12th of October. It could also be a day when you feel much more confident about your future from a romantic perspective. I'm also liking the 17th of October, when the sun in your first house is trining Mars in Gemini in the 9th house. This could be a time when you are having a lovely day out, or a lovely evening, a lovely experience, whilst being out into the world, maybe attending an event or attending a conference, or even traveling together with a partner. You may also feel very confident in your worldview and in your beliefs around this time. There could also be an invitation to travel that makes its way to you around this time. 20th of October, Venus in your first house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 4th house of home, and a day before, the sun in your first house is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in your 4th house of home. Okay, so it may feel like you're a little bit at odds with a parent around this time. You may feel potentially like a parent is taking you by surprise, or someone in your family. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It could be a family member. They might take you by surprise, and you might feel blindsided and maybe even a little bit betrayed. You may also feel like they're really challenging your sense of self on these 2 days, but especially on the 20th, when Venus, your ruler in this lifetime, is tensely activated by Pluto. There could also be some power struggles in your romantic relationships that you are experiencing, especially on the 20th, but also the day before, the day after, that may be rooted within some deeper kind of like childhood traumas, I want to say. On the 23rd of October, Saturn goes direct in your 5th house in Aquarius. So whatever you've been kind of like feeling blocked or restricted, or wherever you've been experiencing delays in terms of building something that you enjoy building, or in terms of kind of like utilizing your creativity for something tangible, concrete. If you've been feeling restrained, then once Saturn goes direct, it may feel like things are finally moving in the right direction, my dear Libras. Also on the 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio in your 2nd house of income, so it may feel for the next month like the spotlight is being placed very much on finances for you. And with Venus in the 2nd house from the 23rd until the 16th of November, it may feel like it is easier for you to access your resources and put them to good use, and put them to use in such a manner that you get paid properly. You may access your resources with ease at work, and in a way that makes you feel valued and appreciated, lovely Libras. You could also be spending quite a bit of money, of course, because it's the 2nd house of income. You could be spending quite a bit of money on matters that have to do with your looks, your appearance. It could be going to the salon. It could be getting a haircut. It could be buying clothes from the 23rd of October until the 16th of November. On the 25th of October, week before, week after, you are experiencing a solar eclipse in your 2nd house of income conjunct Venus. I think that many Libras around this time are either going to discover a new talent, are either going to start tapping into a new inner resource, or you may experience a new source of income coming into your life. Now, it may be in its incipient stages. It could be something from abroad, or it could be something that involves you traveling or working with people from different countries. Why do I say that this is likely to be in its incipient stages? Because that's what a solar eclipse indicates. You may feel like fully connected with this new source of income and with this new talent and inner resource next year in June. But it is probably something that is very lucrative in the long run. 20th of October, Jupiter re-enters Pisces in your 6th house. Until the 21st of December, my dear Libras, you are likely to be able to tap once again into exciting work-related opportunities. It may feel like you are growing tremendously at work. You're probably going to be super busy, I kid you not. If you have been meaning to get a new job, and for whatever reason it didn't happen up until this point in the year, you are likely to receive an abundance of opportunities. But remember, you have to say yes to them. Whilst Jupiter is in your 6th house of day-to-day work from the 20th of October until the 21st of December. Jupiter is also a very healing and soothing energy health-wise. So if you've been experiencing any sort of health-related issues throughout the year, it may feel like you now know how to approach them. It may feel like it's easier to get better, to get healthy, and to maybe kind of like take care of your health in a new way, in a way that is contributing to your wellness overall in the long term. Last but not least, 30th of October, Mars, the ruler of your 7th house of relationships and of your 2nd house of income, is going retrograde in your 9th house. Okay, so a source of income from abroad, or a source of income that was reliant upon you partnering with someone, maybe someone from a different country, may experience some, let's say, challenges. You may experience disruption when it comes to your financial situation that was reliant upon, like I said, a partnership, a relationship, and especially that was reliant upon maybe traveling or connecting with someone from a different country. Now, Mars is going to go retrograde until the 12th of January, so things might be put on hold in terms of this new source of income that could have entered your life around the 25th of October. But once Mars gets out of retrograde in January, it may feel like things are moving forward. Finally, finally, finally. You may also want to slow down a little bit with kind of like launching new campaigns, launching promotional materials, launching your website when Mars is retrograde in the 9th house, because the 9th house is also associated with promotion and marketing. And with Mars retrograde in Gemini, the sign of communication, things might not go exactly in the way that you had planned, I dare say, especially if you were looking to get something off the ground quickly. We don't do quick whilst Mars is in retrograde. Whilst I'm filming this, Mercury is still in retrograde, just as an FYI. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, my dear, dear Scorpios, eclipse season is back this month, and it is back in your sign. Yay! I mean, you know a thing or two about transformation. Maybe more than just a thing or two. This eclipse on the 25th of October, definitely the most memorable event of the month for you. A week before, week after, is happening in your 1st house of identity, and it is conjunct Venus, the ruler of your 7th house of relationships. Basically, Scorpios, it feels like you are experiencing a rebirth on a personal level, on an individual level, maybe also in terms of how you present yourself out into the world. You're experiencing a rebirth, which is very strongly connected with a new beginning in the area of partnerships and relationships. You may feel like your identity is changing and shifting as a result of developments occurring in your romantic life, I would say. It could also be in your business partnerships, but especially in your romantic life. It may feel like you are discovering new untapped potential within yourself. It may feel like you're having an epiphany as to how you have been maybe sabotaging your relationships up until this point. Mars, which is the dispositor of this eclipse, is very nicely aspected to Mercury in Libra in the 12th house of the shadow. So it's almost like you may feel healed from some of the wounds and the traumas of the past that have been keeping you and holding you back from enjoying fully your relationship sector. It's a new chapter. It's almost like you're bearing the old you and a new you is being born, my dear Scorpios. You could also heal something very, very important around this time, or start the process of healing and have a very powerful aha moment. You could heal something that was rooted in an emotional trauma. So maybe something that was manifested in the body, but it actually had its roots in some sort of emotional baggage that you were carrying with you, Scorpios. So overall, I'm liking this this solar eclipse for you. You're definitely the stars. You're in the spotlight. Everyone's watching you. Everyone's looking at you, and everyone is saying, "Oh wow, this is new." What else is going on this month? Well, I started with the most important event. In the first half of the month, we have Saturn in your 4th house of family, and living situation, squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 7th house of relationships. It may feel like, especially until the 13th of October, it may feel like your partner really doesn't want to give in when it comes to something that represents a place of security and solidity and safety in terms of your living situation. You may also feel potentially at a distance or disconnected somehow from your partner because you're in a different place and they're in a different place. Your partner could also experience, if you are in a relationship, some challenges in their career throughout this period, and you may feel like they are being very erratic in their behavior. You might also feel like your partner wants to move very fast with something, Scorpios, and you are acting more from a place of caution or from a place of responsibility or from a place of, man, I can't move this fast because I've got duties towards my family, I've got duties towards my parents. So the partner could be a little bit frustrated with you because you are in this place where you're maybe kind of like catering first and foremost to your duties towards the family and then towards what they want and what they expect from the relationship. Mercury is going direct. This is great news on the 2nd of October in your 11th house of friends. So if you've been having misunderstandings, if you've been experiencing miscommunication with friends or with colleagues at work, with peers, and then it may feel like things are falling into place, things are getting better from the 2nd of October onwards. 8th of October, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn in your 3rd house of communication. So again, any sort of like challenges or issues in communication are likely to ease up. On the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, you're experiencing a full moon in your 6th house of day-to-day work. It is conjunct Chiron. It is also harmoniously aspected to Saturn and Aquarius in your 4th house of home. Okay, so Scorpios. Around this time, a few things may happen. Some Scorpios may say yes to a new job offer. Some Scorpios may actually hand in their resignation. Some Scorpios may also wrap up a work-related project and feel like they can finally focus on building something that they have been looking to build for a long time in their private life. You may also feel like the suffering of a parent health-wise is coming to an end, so they are likely to get better around this time. You may also have an epiphany as to, I want to say, what has been causing you to feel sick or what has been making you feel in not such a great shape physically from a psychological perspective. So you could be having a bit of a breakthrough health-wise around this time. If a parent is getting any sort of like, I don't know, like surgery or something like that, or a family member is getting anything of this nature, it is probably going to go quite well by the looks of it. I'm not liking the fact that Mars is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the fifth house. So let's put it this way. Something is coming to a close. A chapter is coming to an end, work-wise. It could be because you're moving into a new chapter, maybe moving into a new job, into a new role, into a new position. You seem to breathe easily, but at the same time, you also seem to ask yourself, okay, so if this chapter is coming to an end, how am I going to maybe navigate what I like to do, what I enjoy doing, and how am I going to navigate this part of my life and my work sector moving forward? There could be a little bit of lack of clarity, I'd say. 12th of October, the sun in your 12th house is trining Saturn in Aquarius in the 4th house of home. it's like you can finally focus, you can take your eyes off of your work and off of your career and finally focus on strengthening and solidifying relationships with family members, and maybe dealing with paperwork, dealing with admin stuff, dealing with papers and logistics and bureaucracy, and just kind of like getting that out of the way. Then on the 19th of October and on the 20th of October, two things are happening. The Sun on the 19th is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 3rd house. And on the 20th, Venus is squaring Pluto and Capricorn in the 3rd house. I'll say it, Scorpios. It feels like you are almost feeling misunderstood in communication with maybe a boss or a partner or both. Maybe more with a partner on the 20th and more with a boss on the 19th. You may also feel on the 19th like you have to keep to yourself something about your career moving forward, because if you share it with others, they're just not going to get it, and it's going to annoy you, and you're going to go down a very tricky kind of like rabbit hole of having to expose certain parts of your life that you do not want to expose. There you go. 23rd of October, the Sun moves into Scorpio in your 1st house of identity, and Venus does the same thing until the 16th of November. I dare say that you may feel like you're stepping into the spotlight more. It may feel like you are getting re-energized for the next month. From the 23rd until the 16th of November, you may feel much more charming and much more liked and much more kind of like appreciated by others, almost much more magnetic than you normally feel, my dear Scorpios. I mean, naturally you are very magnetic, but from the 23rd until the 16th of November, it's like your level of magnetism is kind of like going up, and your level of self-love and appreciation for yourself is going up as well, potentially also as a result of the attention that you're receiving from others. And if you are kind of like open to a relationship, open to a partnership, if you're single, your level of attraction is like up here from the 23rd of October until the 16th of November. 28th of October, Jupiter comes back into Pisces in your 5th house of children, fun, and entertainment. Lots of opportunities until the 21st of December, Scorpios, to have fun, to enjoy yourselves, to also make money out of something that you like to do. So you could be feeling inspired to monetize upon your talents and upon your passions and hobbies. You could also feel inspired to further develop a gift so that you can monetize it in the long run. Lots of opportunities also to get pregnant, if that is something that you are looking to do, until the 21st of December. And on the 30th of October, Mars goes retrograde in Gemini in the 8th house of shared resources and shared assets. Okay, so if you've been waiting for a loan or a mortgage to get approved, if you've been waiting for an external party to give you the green light on a lump sum of money, that process is probably going to get delayed from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. You may also feel like you're having, again, some kind of like tricky conversations about shared resources, shared assets, and about money in general with your partner if you are in a relationship until the 12th of January. Some tricky conversations that sometimes may result in misunderstandings, so I would not kind of like say very strong words, because they may hit harder than you intended them to. Also, if you've been kind of like very invested into putting money on the stock market, if you've been pushing a lot your investments, Scorpios, the 8th house is also the house of investments. Things are likely to slow down, and things may not necessarily go exactly as you intended them to, or they may not move as fast as you intended them to from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. So you have been warned. My dear Sagittarius, Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. October 2022. It's an exciting month. It's an intense month. It's a month of transformation. It's a month of disruption, but it's also a month of opportunities, my lovely Sagittarians. And I'm going to tell you about the opportunities first, because I suppose you're a Sagittarius and you're interested in that above everything else. That's my assumption. Maybe I'm wrong. The good news is the following. Jupiter, the great benefic, is coming back into your 4th house of home, family, and living situation from the 28th of October until the 21st of December. Jupiter is your chart ruler. Jupiter coming back into your 4th house is likely to bring you opportunities in the following directions, let's say. If you want to move, if you want to buy a house, if you want to purchase land, if you want to expand the family, if you want to live abroad for some time, the cosmos supports you. It may also feel like potentially a period of growth that started in your home and family life, or when it comes to your living situation, when it comes to the area of properties and land. It may feel like a period of growth that kicked off at the beginning of this year until the 10th of May is kind of like getting a restart, is getting a new lease of life from the 28th of October until the 21st of December. Take advantage of it. Go traveling, spend some time away from home if you can. Go after that house, kind of like visualize yourself into a place that makes you feel excited and that makes you feel like you want to like you really want to invest your time and your energy, and you really want to leave your own personal mark upon it. I'd also say that relationships with family members are likely to become a lot smoother whilst Jupiter is transiting through your 4th house of home. Jupiter is the yes planet. So whatever you want to experience in your home life, in your family life, or when it comes to property, Jupiter is likely to say yes to it. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that opportunity many times doesn't just come kind of like knocking at our doors. Even though that would be nice, opportunity needs to be grabbed. So I'll leave that to you. Mercury goes direct in your 10th house of career on the 2nd of October. I've got more good news. So if you've been feeling a little bit kind of like confused, if you've been feeling a little bit stressed and anxious and like you're not going in the right direction career-wise, or if you've been having a hard time making yourself understood at work, and especially by bosses, by people in positions of authority, or when you were presenting to a wider audience, if you've been having challenges with that in September, I want to say that it is likely to get a lot better from the 2nd of October onwards, and even better from the 17th, 18th of October onwards, when the shadow period is also over. In the first half of October, we have a bit of a challenging aspect. It's kind of like running in the background, let's say. We have, until the 13th in particular, Saturn in your 3rd house of communication, squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 6th house of day-to-day work. Now, this transit, you've also experienced it very strongly in 2021. Ask yourself, what sort of challenges in communication did you have with colleagues at work? Or what sort of challenges did you have in terms of learning something new at work? Maybe you were resistant in terms of innovating your processes, in terms of innovating the way you do a certain task, the way you approach a certain task. Those types of challenges are likely to come back to your attention in the first half of October, especially until the 13th. Ask yourself, why are you so opposed to shaking things up, to changing things? Also ask yourself whether it is wise to kind of like just throw caution to the wind when it comes to a matter connected with your work. It may also feel like some people that you're working with in the first part of October just want to change things for the sake of changing things. And rather than getting annoyed and frustrated with them, I would recommend patience in terms of approaching this entire situation and explaining things to them using a format, using a type of language, let's say, that they're going to understand. It's probably not going to take you places if you just try to like impose your own agenda or your own views upon them. There could also be some frustration, some delays in terms of transportation, in terms of your car, maybe in the first half of October. It could be an old issue, an issue that you dealt with in 2021, especially in February, in June, or in December of 2021. It might be time to finally kind of like retire an old car, or really just kind of like change altogether a component of the car. And if you want to get fast somewhere for work, if you want to travel fast somewhere for work in the first half of October, I would keep in mind that it's probably not going to happen, especially if you are driving a car, my dear Sagittarius. On the 8th of October, Pluto goes direct in your second house of income, which is fantastic, because if you've been having some financial kind of like challenges, if you felt like the money wasn't flowing as easily into your life for a few months, it may feel like the tides are going in a new direction, I would say, Sagittarius. Then on the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon in your 5th house, activating your 5th house, 11th house axis. It is a time of fun. It is a time of enjoyment. It is a time of entertainment. It's also a time when you may recognize that collaborating with others was the best thing that you could do for one of your creative projects, I'd say. You may also feel very satisfied with completing a writing project around this time, and completing something that was a personal goal for you. It could also be a very romantic time where you're kind of like spending time together with friends, or you're out into the world and you connect with someone more deeply, on a deeper level. Mars, the dispositor of this full moon, is in your 7th house of relationships, nicely aspected to the Sun in Libra in the 11th house of friends. It could be that a friend kind of like confesses that they've got feelings for you that go beyond friendship, I'd say. It could also be a time, if you are already in a relationship, when you celebrate something together with your friends that involves both you and your partner, dear Sagittarius. Some Sagittarians may also hear news, especially Sagittarius risings. They may hear positive news connected with a collaborative project of a creative nature. And some of you might also hear news connected with pregnancy. Certainly very, very possible. Just putting it out there. On the 19th of October, 19th and the 20th are a little bit tricky. Why? Because it feels like you are either overspending when you're going out and when you are kind of like enjoying your social life. It also feels like you may have to hide some of your values. You may feel like you have to keep them under wraps in order to feel accepted, in order to feel like you belong to a certain group of people that you activate in. You could also feel potentially a little bit out of place within a certain group of people, maybe based on certain differences that exist between you from a financial perspective. Maybe you're feeling a little bit awkward because, I don't know, your friends are talking about having financial challenges and issues, and you're like, oh, that's not me. I'm in such a good place, but I also feel a little bit inadequate right now. It is a possibility. Remember, astrology is only archetypally predictive. 23rd of October, both the Sun and Venus move into your 12th house. Basically, for the next month, there's going to be a lot of focus on your 12th house, my dear Sagittarius. A lot is going to happen behind the scenes for you. A lot in terms of you releasing, letting go, wrapping things up. A lot of your attention is probably going to be focused on your mental health, also upon the chapters that are closing in your life, maybe in terms of work, in terms of certain groups of people that you are leaving behind. You are likely to enjoy a good time if you go on vacation, if you go on holiday, sometime between the 23rd of October until the 16th of November, because with Venus in the 12th house, I mean, it is genuinely a good idea to just kind of like take it easy, take it slow, go to the spa, take a few days off, and so on. Saturn also goes direct on the 23rd of October in your 3rd house. I mean, any sort of challenges that you've been having with your car are probably out of the way, finally. You may also feel like you're making progress, even though things were pretty stagnant for a few months. You may feel like you're finally making progress with something that you were supposed to learn, Sagittarius. 25th of October, week before, week after, there's a solar eclipse in your 12th house conjunct Mars. You may have an epiphany and aha moment from a mental health perspective. You may also have an epiphany in terms of your spiritual life. You may start kind of like incorporating within your day-to-day from the 25th onwards, and maybe even like the week before, the week after, you may start incorporating practices in your daily routines that help you be in a much better place from a mental health perspective, but also from a spiritual standpoint. You might also take the very private decision around this time, Sagittarius, to leave behind the job. Maybe you're not necessarily going to leave it straight away, but it may feel like you have this sort of like clarity as to what no longer serves you in your current work situation. It may also feel very easy around this time. You're having this revelation. It may feel very easy to give up on an unhealthy habit, such as an addiction, Sagittarius. I mean, we could be addicted to all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be drugs. It could be sugar, for instance. So putting it out there. Now, the month ends with a bang. I kid you not. Mars goes retrograde on the 30th of October in your 7th house of relationships in Gemini. Mars is the ruler of your 5th house and of your 12th house. Okay, so it's probably going to feel like you are bringing the dead back to light, symbolically speaking, in your relationship sector from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. It could be you doing this, it could be your partner doing this. It may feel like old arguments are coming back to your conscious attention, old arguments in connection with things that you're not on the same page with when it comes to how you approach them and how your partner would approach them. So old conflicts may resurface. You may also feel like your partner is becoming kind of like angry and maybe frustrated for no reason. They could become much more easily triggered. It may also feel like your partner has less clarity as to where they are headed in life. So they may kind of like backtrack on some of their initiatives. Also, if the relationship is quite young and new, you may be having second thoughts. You may be having doubts, I'd say, whilst Mars is retrograde. And there's almost like this possibility to kind of like fight over things that actually, in the grand scheme of things, they don't mean that much, but they could be somehow linked with your own kind of like with your own patterns of self-sabotage. You might also not be on the same page, my dear Sagittarius, with your partner, especially Sagittarius rising. You might not be on the same page from the 30th of October until the 12th of January with your partner when it comes to a matter related to children. So consider yourselves warned. My dear Capricorns, Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings, what does October have in store for you? Well, like I said, it's an intense month. It can feel overwhelming at times. The good news is that there's also a lot of pleasant stuff happening despite the turmoil, despite the disruption. For instance, on the 2nd of October, Mercury goes direct in your 9th house, my dear Capricorns. It may feel like delays or frustrations or misunderstandings, miscommunications connected with traveling, connected with legal matters, connected with your academic status, maybe also connected with your links with like a foreign land, a foreign country. It may feel like all of these start falling back into place. So things are coming back to normal. You could hear back also from an old teacher that was supposed to reach out a while back, and now they're finally responding to you. You may also feel like it is easier to present your thesis in an academic environment from the 2nd of October onwards. You may also have clarity in terms of your broader life philosophy, Capricorns, from the 2nd of October onwards. Something else very important that is happening in October is Pluto going direct in your first house. So if you've been kind of like looking inwards and digging deep into your psyche for the past few months, and maybe also feeling like you're in this place of reaching the depths of your soul and of your subconscious, now you may feel ready to kind of like come back to light, and it may feel like the process of investigating what's been really going on inside of you, investigating maybe the shadow side of your psyche. It may feel like now it's finally bearing some sort of like fruit, and you're done with it and you're ready to move forward with your life. On, let's see, the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in Aries in your 4th house of home. This is very nicely aspected to Saturn and Aquarius in your 2nd house of income. I'm liking this. Why? Well, a few things may happen around this time, Capricorns. You could move into a new house. You could also say goodbye to an old home. You could be finalizing the paperwork, finalizing the payments around this time. You could be feeling very hopeful about your home and living situation for the future, because you're in a much better place, you're in a much better position financially than you used to be. It may also feel like you're seeing eye to eye with a family member around this time, especially with a parent. It may feel like you are aligned and you're reaching some sort of like compromise and middle ground and middle path. You could be making a significant payment for the house or on behalf of a parent around this time. You could also have some sort of announcement to make to the outside world about something that's been going on in your private life or connected with your home and living situation, my dear Capricorns, especially Capricorn risings. The moon is conjunct Chiron, so it could feel like you're leaving behind, you're walking away from maybe a wound or an unpleasant situation, something that was triggering for you within the home and family environment. Let's see. Also in the first half of October, Capricorns, do keep in mind that there's something going on in the background. Saturn in your 2nd house of values and income is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your 5th house of enjoyment. You may still feel very kind of like a little bit stressed and overly cautious, excessively cautious when it comes to having fun and when it comes to enjoying your life, and maybe also when it comes to falling in love, because you've got some significant personal goals to focus on. There can also be this tendency that you have to hold yourself back from enjoying yourself or enjoying life too much. There could be this kind of like feeling that you can't really like throw yourself into the party, let's say, because you have financial obligations to take care of. And that could be a little bit frustrating. You might have to say no to some kind of like events or parties or expenses, but you are likely to feel like you've accomplished something that felt like a bit of an objective, a long-term objective connected with your home and family life and living situation around the 9th of October. So holding yourself back from maybe experiencing some fun times may actually be worth it, Capricorns. 19th and 20th of October could be a little bit tricky, Capricorns. Why? Because we've got the Sun on the 19th and Venus on the 20th, squaring Pluto in Capricorn in your 1st house. It may feel like a boss or someone in a position of power is making you expose a part of yourself, is pushing you to expose a part of yourself that you're not comfortable in exposing publicly. You may also feel a little bit judged and a little bit as if your kind of like dirty laundry is being like displayed. You may feel publicly judged for something that's been going on. I mean, I dare say probably in your romantic life, lately. You may also feel a little bit judged for something that has to do with your kids if you have children, Capricorns. So I did want to put that on your radar. 12th of October, so a little bit earlier, very careful on the road because there could be incidents on the road. There could be people that are not paying attention. You could be in a rush and things may not necessarily turn out in the best of ways, Capricorns. 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus move into Scorpio in your 11th house of long-term goals, plans, friends, and dreams. You seem to be having a really fun time, a really enjoyable time with friends, out into the world, socializing from the 23rd until the 16th of November, so from the 23rd of October. On the 23rd, Saturn also goes direct in your second house, so your money faucet is getting unclogged. So things are finally starting to fall back into place financially. It may feel like you have overcome maybe a period of stagnation or of frustration or of delays financially that you've been dealing with in the past few months. There could actually be some really good news connected with money making its way to you on the 23rd of October. You could be also feeling very appreciated and you could receive some positive feedback from a boss on this day. 25th of October, there's a solar eclipse happening in your 11th house, conjunct Venus. You seem to be making some exciting new plans for the future career-wise around this time. There could be a new opportunity to collaborate with someone for the long run, to maybe collaborate with a group of people for the long run career-wise. That comes into your life around this time. You could be setting some new goals, some exciting new objectives. You could also be feeling like you're having some fated encounters in terms of friends, in terms of people that are aligned with you from a mentality perspective, fated encounters that are likely to influence in a positive way your work situation. You may also have an exciting announcement to make to your friends about the plans that you have career-wise, and they could take them by surprise, but at the same time, it feels like something that you're very invested in, you're excited about, and ultimately, it feels like it's going to contribute to your overall happiness. Now, the implementation of these plans might actually need to be postponed a little bit. It might need to kind of like get pushed back because Mars is going to go retrograde in your 6th house of day-to-day work on the 30th of October until the 12th of January. So your work-related initiatives and in particular new beginnings may encounter challenges, may encounter obstacles. It may feel like people are not necessarily on the same page with you. It may also feel like you've got a lot of loose ends to tie up, maybe in your current work situation, until the 12th of January from the 30th of October before you can move forward with your plans, Capricorns. Also, some frustrating kind of like conflicts, arguments, and just kind of like feeling triggered in conversation with colleagues. All of these are very possible whilst Mars is retrograde in Gemini in the 6th house. Don't get upset if people are more, let's say, sensitive to the way you talk to them in a work environment from the 30th of October until the 12th of January, because Mars in retrograde is telling you, not so fast. Slow down, careful what words you use, careful what you say, because it can backfire. There could also be an old, potentially a health-related challenge that comes back to your attention, and you may need to readdress it. It could be maybe something connected with muscles or something connected with breathing, with lungs, maybe also something connected with your hands or with your arms, something that you dealt with in the past, but now you need to kind of like slow down and maybe readdress this issue, my dear Capricorns. Jupiter comes back into Pisces in your 3rd house of communication from the 20th of October until the 21st of December. I'm liking this because it feels like you are learning much quicker, much faster. There's probably going to be opportunities, very fulfilling opportunities to, I want to say, network, to also maybe understand topics that feel a little bit more vague and ambiguous and less kind of like rational and brainy. You are probably going to feel very persuasive from the 28th of October until the 21st of December. And Jupiter is also being super helpful when it comes to any sort of writing projects. So if you've got something to write, do use this transit, something significant to write. Also, if you've been meaning to kind of like take an exam or retake an exam, Jupiter generally plays in your favor when it's transiting your third house. So now you know. My Aquarius brothers and sisters, Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. What does October have in store for us? Well, I kid you not, it is going to be a month to remember for a variety of reasons. There's some challenging stuff happening in the sky, and I'm gonna get that out of the way. I'm gonna start off with that, to be fair. In the first half of October, you're gonna be dealing with, especially Aquarius risings, you're going to be dealing with an aspect that you've also dealt with throughout 2021. Saturn in your first house is squaring Uranus and Taurus in your fourth house of home and family and living situation. This also happened in 2021, especially in February, June, and December. It may feel like you are being blocked, or it may feel like you are being thrown off course in terms of building something for you in your personal life. In terms of working on yourself, it feels like you're being thrown off by all sorts of chaos and disruption at home, or by the kind of like extreme reactions of a family member, or by literally unpredictable stuff occurring in your private life. You may want to build stability and solidity in your life. You may want to restructure your life with Saturn in the first house until March of next year. You may want to do a thorough cleanup in your life. You may want to remove certain structures from your life and kind of like bring the focus back on you. But at the same time, there's all sorts of unexpected surprises occurring in your family life or within your home. Let's put it this way. It's getting better. It's gonna get better. Especially from the 23rd of October onwards, when Saturn goes direct in your first house. So from the 23rd of October until March of next year, if you've been feeling stuck in your process of restructuring your life, if you've been feeling stuck and maybe also a little bit hopeless in terms of something that's been holding you back, something that's been kind of like holding you in a tight grip health-wise, it may feel like things are starting to slowly move in the right direction from the 23rd of October onwards. So you're getting out of that place of stagnation. You might also feel significantly more tired than you normally feel, especially in the first half of the month. You could feel like things are starting to improve, but again, slowly, very, very, very slowly. And it requires a lot of effort on your side from the 23rd of October onwards. On the 2nd of October, Mercury goes direct in your 8th house. So if you've been experiencing miscommunication or delays or things just going kind of like south when it comes to shared assets, shared resources, when it comes to loans, mortgages, when it comes to your partner's finances, if there were all sorts of conversations that felt like they led nowhere whilst Mercury was retrograde for most of September, things will probably get clearer and easier in terms of you getting on the same page with your partner from the 2nd of October onwards. Also, again, if you've been waiting to hear news connected with a mortgage, a loan, or taxes, and they were supposed to arrive a while back and they were delayed, they're probably going to make their way to you from the 2nd of October onwards. But especially, I would pay attention to the second half of October, because from the 17th, 18th onwards, the shadow period of Mercury retrograde is over as well. On the 8th of October, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn in your 12th house. So I will say this. There's been a lot of powerful forces, and maybe this sounds cheesy or woo-woo. There may have been this feeling of forces outside of your control, kind of like playing in the background of your life and kind of like causing you to lose sleep, causing you to feel anxious or to feel fearful about transformation, causing you to feel fearful about really looking at the habits or the patterns that have been contributing to you sabotaging yourself. Let's say that from the 8th of October onwards, it may feel a lot easier to look at these aspects of your life, look them straight in the eye and say, I see you now. There's a full moon on the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, activating your 3rd house, 9th house axis. This is probably going to bring good news, some good news connected with your studies, connected with exams. If you've taken an exam, you're probably going to hear that you passed. You may also feel like you have finally overcome some sort of challenge or issue in terms of making yourself understood, in terms of expressing yourself, in terms of communicating your thoughts and your opinions. You may also feel like you have potentially finally overcome what felt like a wound, or what made you feel inadequate when it came to the way that you express yourself, when it came to the way that you communicate, or maybe when it came to your education in general up until this point, my dear Aquarius. Some of you Aquarians might be receiving your driver's license around this time. Some of you may be buying a new car or selling a car. Some of you might be signing some papers, some important papers, maybe signing up for kind of like an important course, an important class. You could also be traveling around this time, probably for business. And if you are traveling for business, it may feel like a very fruitful journey, let's say, and a journey in which you can combine business with pleasure, my dear Aquarius. On the 12th of October, I would be very careful because you might be a little bit reckless with your spending. And there's also a possibility, because Mars in your 5th house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 2nd house of income, there is also a possibility that on this day, maybe you get charged more than you are supposed to get charged. So I would look at receipts, I would look at bills, I would look at what you are paying. I'm liking the 17th of October because it feels like a very romantic day. It feels like a day where you're having this spark, this connection with someone on a mental level. You could also be having a good time traveling, or a great time going to the museum, or attending an educational conference or something of that nature, probably together with a partner or with a potential partner. 19th and 20th of October are a little bit tricky because let's say that factors outside of your control, probably connected with a partner, a business partner or a life partner, are messing up a bit with your plans in terms of traveling, and also maybe with some of the plans that you had made from an educational perspective, from an academic perspective. You may also feel like you need to hide in public, like you need to keep to yourself some of your beliefs, in order not to trigger people, in order not to kind of like rub them the wrong way. So you might be feeling a little bit inauthentic on these 2 days, my dear Aquarius. 23rd of October, Venus and the Sun move into your 10th house of career. Your focus for the next month is definitely going to be on your career. And not only that, Venus in general moving through the 10th house is making it much more likely for you to receive the green light, to receive positive news, to receive approval from bosses, from people in positions of authority. It may feel like you are enjoying the spotlight a lot more, and even interviews are likely to go significantly better than they normally would. 25th of October, week before, week after, there is a solar eclipse in your 10th house of career. Aquarius, you're either deciding, or you feel like the universe around this time is pushing you in the direction of a new industry or new role, new position professionally. It may feel like a significant step up the ladder, or it may feel like a significant change in terms of sector, field, and industry. It may also feel like an important moment for you In terms of your status and reputation in the world, you may have to make an important announcement connected with, I dare say, your private life and your relationship. Sometimes people experience changes in status relationship-wise when there's an eclipse in the 10th house. So if they're single, they enter a relationship. If they are unmarried, they might get engaged. It is very, very, very possible. You could also be receiving an exciting opportunity, potentially abroad. So quite far from home around this time career-wise. Now, the interesting thing is that Mars, which is the ruler of your 10th house of career, goes retrograde from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. So you may have to postpone or delay this new beginning career-wise, potentially until the middle of January or until the 12th of January, once Mars is out of retrograde, because Mars is the ruler of your career path. It may feel like you still have some more kind of like things to learn. It may also feel like you have to take a bit of a step back professionally and focus on your kids if you have kids, because they need you and they demand your immediate attention whilst Mars is retrograde. Children could deal with, whilst Mars is retrograde, some old challenges, some old issues at school, or some old issues connected with their friends or their peers, and it could be a source of friction and frustration and maybe even arguments between you and children throughout this period. You may also feel like you have to revisit an old creative project and maybe slow down in terms of the advances that you're making on this front whilst Mars is retrograde in your 5th house. There's also a possibility, Mars retrograde in the 5th house of romantic love, that an old partner, an old paramour, I think that's the word, paramour, it sounds so fancy. There's a possibility that an old lover could come knocking at your door whilst Mars is retrograde, and I'd say that the temptation is probably going to run high, especially for Aquarius risings, because they are going to feel this the most. Jupiter re-enters Pisces in your 2nd house of income from the 20th of October until the 21st of December. This is your opportunity, Aquarius, to make more money. This is your opportunity to capitalize more upon your talents and upon your assets and your resources. Jupiter is generally the yes planet. So if you have been looking at ways to make more money, if you have been looking at ways to increase your income, Jupiter is likely to blow the wind in your sails. And for you, Jupiter is also the ruler of the 11th house of friends and collaborators. So there could be some exciting collaborations making their way back to you professionally. From the 28th of October until the 21st of December, collaborations coming from friends or peers, or maybe collaborations that were put on your radar in the first part of the year until the 10th of May. So these are likely to come back to your attention. The gist of it is you can make more money. You're nicely supported in that. It also feels like your sense of self-worth is growing, is increasing, and it feels like your confidence in yourself is increasing, which I'm super, super, super much liking, Aquarius. My dear Pisces, Pisces suns and Pisces risings, what are you dealing with in October of 2022? Some exciting stuff and some stressful aspects. So let's start off with the good news. Mercury is going direct on the 2nd of October in your 7th house of relationships. So finally, it may feel like you are again on the same page with your partner after the 2nd of October onwards. If you've been having a hard time making yourself understood by your partner, and also if you've been feeling like what your partner was saying to you, especially from the 10th of September when Mercury went retrograde up until this point, up until the 2nd of October, if you felt like it made zero sense, and if you felt like the partner was maybe kind of like struggling a little bit from a mental health perspective, that is probably going to get a lot better from the 2nd of October onwards. Also, it might get even better from the 17th, 18th of October onwards once the shadow period is over. We've got also in October, Pisces, on the 20th of October until the 21st of December, Jupiter coming back into your first house of identity. This is a very, very exciting time for you to grow, to develop yourself on a personal level, to get out of your comfort zone, to broaden your horizons, to maybe travel, to kick off significant projects on a personal level, especially I want to say, connected with your career. So if you've wanted to maybe explore a new industry, if you've wanted to kind of like dip your toes in the water of what it would be like to work remotely from a different country, Jupiter has got your back. This transit was also something that you experienced in the first part of the year, from the beginning of the year until the 10th of May. So maybe have a think about some of the things, some of the initiatives that you felt inspired to pursue on a personal level in terms of your development, maybe in terms of your education, in terms of your career. Revisit some of these initiatives that came to your attention in the first part of the year until the 10th of May, because you may feel like it's time to go back to them. It's time to kind of like grow in that direction once more. We've also got an eclipse this month, which is super exciting because eclipses in general are indicators of major milestone moments in our lives. This eclipse is happening in Scorpio, which is a sign that trines Pisces. So you get along super well with the Scorpio energy. That's why this eclipse may feel like a significant blessing or the beginning of an important kind of like chapter of growth for you, my dear Pisces. This eclipse is happening in your 9th house of foreign lands and foreign countries, and it is conjunct Venus. Venus for you is the ruler of your 3rd house of communication and of your 8th house of transformation. You may feel ready from the 25th of October onwards, but you might be feeling this also the week before, the week after. You may feel ready to explore a new belief system, a new life philosophy, maybe a new faith, maybe also to immerse yourself in an incredibly exciting journey from an academic perspective that maybe you did not see yourself immersing in up until this point. You may have an aha moment as to how your belief system has changed, has evolved throughout this year. And you may also feel like you found something that really, really resonates with you. Some Pisces, especially Pisces risings, may hear some really good news coming their way from a legal institution or from an in-law, so a parent-in-law, like a sibling in-law, a sister-in-law, or something like that, because the 9th house is also connected with in-laws. There's also a possibility that you may feel inspired around this time, Pisces, to pursue a new educational path, news from abroad, essentially, maybe also fated encounters with a mentor, with a teacher, with a guide around this time. Someone who feels really skilled, really knowledgeable in helping you deal with some of the challenges that you've had on a psychological level, or I want to say maybe even on an intimate level with a partner in your life. So it feels like someone's kind of like coming in, teaching you something as to how to deal with a source of crisis in your life that maybe involve both you and your partner. Now, I know that I jumped straight to the end of the month, so I'm going to continue in the same vein. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently because after all, I'm filming this in Mercury retrograde, so why go in a straight line when you can go like this? You know, like, why not? Why not? I told you that I deliver the good stuff first. The more challenging stuff is the following. So Mars is going to go retrograde in Gemini in your 4th house of home on the 30th of October until the 12th of January. Forgive me about that. Mars is the ruler of your second house of income and of your ninth house of foreign lands and foreign countries, and also legal matters. So it may feel like an initiative that you had in terms of your living situation may need to be postponed or delayed because of financial issues or because of issues connected with bureaucracy, connected with legal institutions, maybe also connected with in-laws once again. It may also feel like you're having some old arguments, some old kind of like conversations that you thought were done and dusted with parents or with family members from the 30th of October until the 12th of January. And it may also feel like parents and family members are a little bit more reactive verbally, or they may say stuff that is a bit more triggering to you throughout the Mars retrograde period. In any case, if you wanted to go kind of like full speed ahead in your home and family life with something that involved spending money or traveling or finalizing papers, that's probably not going to go exactly as you had envisaged, especially in terms of speed. On the 8th of October, my dear Pisces, Pluto goes direct in Capricorn in your 11th house. So if you've been feeling like something was getting in the way, or if you've been feeling not so clear on how you want to transform your future in the past few months, it may feel like that energy is getting out of your life, is exiting your life from the 8th of October onwards. In the first half of October, we've got some challenging stuff going on in the sky between Saturn and Uranus, old versus new, right? So it may feel like factors outside of your control that are slowing you down are getting in the way of you maybe wrapping up as fast as possible or as fast as you thought you would a writing assignment. It may also feel like all sorts of narrow mentalities or maybe even more old school kind of views are holding you back from saying things as you would like to say them, from kind of like speaking your mind. If you've been meaning to sell something fast, again, it may not exactly happen in the first half of October, especially until the 13th of October. It's probably going to get better from the 23rd of October onwards when Saturn gets out of retrograde. So it may feel like these kind of like behind the scenes actors or even institutions that were preventing you from selling something, that were also preventing you from kind of like moving forward with what you had planned educationally. It may feel like these factors are no longer that big a problem, my dear Pisces. You may feel like you also need to hide something from a sibling in terms of plans for the future, or you may feel a little bit awkward for not revealing something about your plans for the future, something that has changed. You may feel awkward about not revealing this to your immediate community, or you may feel like you have to keep it under wraps, even though you may want to kind of like shout it out from the rooftops, I dare say, Pisces. On the 9th of October, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon in your second house of income, activating your financial axis. This is payday for you, Pisces. It is very likely going to be an important payday. It may feel like it's a delayed payday, or it may feel like it's a payday that you did not even expect. You could be reaching this point of culmination financially where you're getting paid, you're also clearing out debt around this time, and you're kind of like removing a burden out of your life. You may also have a bit of an epiphany around this time in terms of the ways in which you have been sabotaging yourself by feeling less worthy than you actually are. The ways in which you have been sabotaging yourself in terms of fulfilling your full potential from a financial and prosperity perspective. That's something that comes up around this time. You may also reach an agreement with a partner around finances at this point in time. You could decide to either spend money or not spend money, but whatever it is, it feels like you're on the same page on something connected with your common future together as kind of like partners, I'd say. It's probably something also linked with a house that you reach an agreement on that involved significant expenses. 12th of October, I would be quite careful at home because something could break. What could break? I mean, it could be a pipe. It could be something connected with water. So like a faucet or something might burst, like a water pipe might burst because Mars is squaring Neptune on this day. You could also have a bit of an argument in which you feel very hurt, surprisingly so, by what a family member tells you, my dear Pisces. It may feel like your self-worth is being called into the whole thing. It's like it's getting attacked, I would say. You might make peace and you might get along just fine with the same family member on the 17th of October, when the Sun is nicely aspecting Mars in Gemini in your 4th house of home and family. 19th and 20th are a little bit challenging because it may feel like you have to keep to yourself and you can't reveal to the outside world, especially to your friends. You have to keep to yourself some of your struggles, maybe in the area of intimacy, maybe in the area of shared assets with your partner. You may also feel like you have to keep to yourself something that's been going on, even though friends are maybe asking about it. You may have to keep to yourself something that's been going on in your life when it comes to your investments. If you have investments, I'd say. There's also a possibility that you may feel a little bit, how should I say, betrayed, or feel like a friend has hidden something from you around these two dates, 19th and 20th of October. 23rd of October, the Sun and Venus enter Scorpio in your 9th house. Venus is going to be there until the 16th of November. You're probably going to enjoy traveling, visiting foreign lands, foreign countries. Your focus is probably also going to be tremendously on the area of education, especially higher education. You might be making sense of your life. You might be looking at your life holistically from the mountaintop and saying, okay, what does it all mean? And what actually gives me a sense of purpose and meaning in my life? The Sun is also the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work. So from the 23rd of October for the next month, you may travel for work-related purposes, or you may feel like you're immersing yourself in a new culture for work-related purposes. And that is October for you, my dear Pisces. Good stuff getting unblocked, relationship-wise. Jupiter is coming back in your corner, so it may very well feel like a good time to take some calculated risks. It's a good month overall, despite the disruptions, despite the kind of like the unexpected elements. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Please let us know in the comments how October plays out for you. Remember that if you want to work with me, the only place where you can book personal astrological consultations with me is my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. You can also follow me on Instagram if you're on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Rux Unbelievable, in one word, RUX Unbelievable. And if you enjoy my content and you would not like to work with me on a one-to-one basis, I would also very much appreciate you tapping that thanks button and making a donation to my channel, because it helps. It helps me to create this content. Thank you, and I will see you next time.